Chapter 418. When Zhang Zhong went to work, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not stay idle. They took more than 20 guards and went out for a stroll. The two of them did not want to suddenly encounter any danger when they were walking outside. Places that were easy to encounter danger, such as the mountains, were absolutely not to go. They wandered around the county, especially places where there might be people who raised birds, such as the market. If there was anyone who raised pigeons, they would have to ask carefully. The two of them strolled slowly. There were indeed quite a few people in the market, but most of them were selling things. If they couldn't sell anything, they would barter. The goods they sold weren't anything good. They were all daily necessities. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked for more than 100 feet. But they didn't see anything that caught their eye. There was no trace of people who sold birds. Not to mention birds, even those who sold flowers, fish, and insects could not be seen. This is the effect of not having money. It has made people put away some of their playful mood. The only thing they can do is to think of ways to work more and then eat their fill. It is really too pitiful. Wang Wan looked at the clothes that the people around were wearing. She did not see many new clothes. The so-called new clothes were not patched. Even the people in the shop could not do this. Even the people in the shop were wearing patched clothes. It will get better, as long as they do not lose hope in their hearts. I guess the people in the shop are deliberately wearing torn clothes. Let's go. There is a shop selling the 4 treasures of the study in front of us. Let's go inside and ask. Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan forward under the protection of a group of guards. When they arrived at the door of the shop, the person inside was standing near the door and looking outside. Do you have anything good to sell here? Zhang Xiaobao asked. What good things? If you think it is good, then it is good. If you think it is not good, then it is not good even if I exaggerate. The man standing at the door said politely. At the same time, he kept looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He also liked children, especially cute ones like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan entered the store and looked at the items. They found that there was indeed nothing good, so they believed the man's words. Wang Wan curiously looked around the shop and asked, "Are you a waiter here, buddy?" "I don't have the money to hire a waiter. I only have enough food to eat. If I hire another waiter, both me and the waiter will starve to death," the man said helplessly. "Oh, so that's how it is. Then why are there so many patches on your clothes? I see that some of the patches don't seem to be places that can be rubbed off normally." Wang Wan pointed at the man's clothes and asked. The man looked at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao warily and couldn't answer for a while. Zhang Xiaobao seemed to understand something and said to the man, "My name is Zhang Xiaobao. I am the son of the new provincial governor. You don't have to be afraid." After Zhang Xiaobao's words, the man immediately let out a sigh of relief. He waved his hand and signaled for Zhang Xiaobao and the others to follow him. He turned around a door that led inside and passed through a corridor. He led the group of people to the outside of a room. "If I knew you were the young master, I wouldn't have been afraid. To be honest, these patches were specially sewn on. Otherwise, if the bailiffs of the county saw them, they would think that there is still money to be made in my shop. It is the same for other shops. Some ordinary people with slightly better families also wear patched clothes when they go out. Usually, the things sold in the shop and the stalls outside are all ordinary goods. They definitely don't dare to display good goods. If that's the case, they will be snatched away and won't be given a single copper coin. If the two of you really want to buy something, then go into this room and take a look. The things inside are all good. Since you are the family of the new great official, I won't make money. I will directly sell at the cost. As long as there is a great official here, the future days will be good." The man stood at the door and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly understood. At the same time, they were a bit angry. When they got off the ship, they sent people to collect information. They actually didn't find out this news. They failed in their duty. The two of them nodded at the same time and let the man lead them in to take a look. When they entered the room, they saw that it was indeed different from the things displayed outside. Zhang Xiaobao came to the front of the pen rack and looked. He pointed at a pen and asked, "Shopkeeper, how much is this pen made of weasel hair? Let me see. If you want to buy it, just give me 60 copper coins. The cost is the cost." The shopkeeper came over and reported the price. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. 60 copper coins is indeed not a profit. Seems that the price you paid is also low. I will give you 100 copper coins. I will buy it. As Xiaobao spoke, he naturally didn't need to take out money. He was still young and couldn't carry too much money on him. The person next to him passed the money over. The shopkeeper was very embarrassed when he picked it up and said, "Actually, the cost of this pen is only 56 copper coins. I just said 4 copper coins. The space is also considered as storage money. I didn't ask for much. Do you know who raises birds here? My father likes little birds, so I want to buy 2. Zhang Xiaobao felt that this person was too kind. He kept so much stock and only asked for an extra 4 copper coins. It was normal to say that it was 70 copper coins. To buy such a pen in the capital, one couldn't even think about it without 200 copper coins. The shopkeeper held the money in his hand and was a bit excited, saying, "Actually, it is cheap. The people who hunt here also can't sell their prey at a high price. The people outside don't come to buy much. It is not worth it for the people here to go out once. You ask about the birds, there really isn't one. However, if the new good official wants one, he only needs to post a notice. Then many people will go up the mountain to catch birds. A good official, isn't it easy to get a bird? No? Oh, then forget it. If he can't post a notice, how can he be a good official? Then we will leave now. I wish the shopkeeper's business prospers." Zhang Xiaobao didn't ask about the birds, but he knew the attitude of the local people towards his father. This could be considered a gain. As they spoke, the group walked out again. The shopkeeper followed behind them. When they were about to reach the door, the shopkeeper said, "Young master, why don't the 2 of you take some paper back? This paper is good for practicing calligraphy. Although it is not as good as good paper, it is actually a good official who posted a notice. He is a good official who doesn't force people to do things. Those birds that sound good indeed don't exist. However, in our county there is a family that raises pigeons. It is Old Man Chong. His pigeons are not bad, but it is a pity that they don't sell them. The bailiffs are the same. His family has a few strong guards. The bailiffs have suffered a few losses and don't know why they don't dare to provoke them." "Pigeons? Which family? Tell us the place and we will buy all the paper you have." As soon as Zhang Xiaobao heard the word pigeons, he immediately became energetic. What he wanted was pigeons. While asking for money, he pulled the shopkeeper and asked him to lead the way. "Follow this road to the west. After passing the government office, then the county office. After walking for more than 1,000 steps, you will see a small wine shop. After going around that house, you will see a small courtyard. Old Man Chong lives in the courtyard." When the shopkeeper heard that the new young master bought all the paper, he was very happy and stood at the door to show the way. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan carefully noted it down. They didn't care whether the paper was properly brought or not, and directly trotted in that direction. "Is anyone here? Help me shout." Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao found the courtyard. They stood outside and shouted towards the inside. They also asked the bodyguards who followed them to shout. The bodyguards' voices were very loud. "Is anyone here? Come out and breathe. Hurry up, or we will tear down the courtyard." A bodyguard shouted foolishly. His shout made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan tremble. They hurriedly said to him, "Who let you shout like that? Be polite. It seems that I will have to give you more training in the future. It is easy to get into trouble when you go out." It's still the 2 children who are sensible. This old man is really afraid of others tearing down the yard. "You're Xiaobao, you're Yaowan, smart and quick-witted, aren't you?" As soon as Zhang Xiaobao finished scolding the bodyguards, an old man came out from inside. He was supported by someone and walked to the courtyard gate. In fact, it was just a fence. There was no high wall at all, so they could easily see the people inside. The old man asked someone to open the door while smiling at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were not surprised at all. The only thing they did not expect was that the person who raised the pigeons was this old man. Wang Wan's mouth moved. "Do you think the old man knows us so well through the pigeons? Does he know anyone in the capital?" "I think so. So the pigeons raised by the old man are not ordinary pigeons, but the carrier pigeons we are looking for. This is good. Let's see how we can persuade the old man to raise them for us." Zhang Xiaobao also thought of this and replied to Wang Wan. The 2 people walked forward, and the bodyguards behind them followed closely. When they reached the door of the house, the old man suddenly said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "The space inside is small. Can you let your bodyguards wait outside?" When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard this, they raised their heads at the same time and looked into the old man's eyes. They did not see any conspiracy, but they still did not dare to take it lightly. Zhang Xiaobao hesitantly asked, "Can we bring 2 people in and let them stand? We don't need too much space." "Okay, let's bring 2 people in. Then let's bring 2 people in. The little girl has a lot of thoughts. She can't be tricked." The old man did not refuse this time and led the 4 people in. Wang Wan said sweetly, "Grandpa just praised us for being clever. If we don't bring 2 people, Grandpa will not be able to take responsibility if something happens. You little girl are not ordinary. No wonder Minister Bai praised you as rare in heaven and earth. Tell me, how did you find me? Why did you find me?" Chapter 419. Wang Wan's trust in Zhang Xiaobao made her stand there and give the old man a smile. The old man put down his hand, looked at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Kid, you can't let Cuckoo take such risks in the future. Can you guarantee that you can kill me in one go? Or can you make me unable to hurt Cuckoo? I used to be a guard, then a bodyguard, and then a housekeeper. I have seen many things." Zhang Xiaobao coughed and let go of his hands. He didn't make a sound. Wang Wan could tell that the old man wasn't an ordinary person. He didn't mean to hurt them. Otherwise, based on what the old man said just now, if it was true, he would at most suffer some injuries when dealing with the 2 of them. Since there was no danger for the time being, they decided to chat first. They couldn't ask about the pigeons right away. Wang Wan smiled sweetly again. "Old Grandpa knows Grandpa Bai, but Grandpa Bai has never mentioned old Grandpa. When we return to the capital, we'll ask him why he didn't tell us earlier." "Little girl, are you still testing this old man? I know him, but your Grandpa Bai's status is much higher than mine. I am just a housekeeper. In the past, when I saw him, I would greet him. This time, if you didn't come, he wouldn't have told me, especially you 2 little guys. That letter praised you again and again. Seeing you 2 today, I know that hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. You are really extraordinary. One dares to use himself to test me, and the other is standing in a position that can threaten me. Although I can't guess how he can hurt me, the kid's position makes me very uncomfortable. Little girl, if he moves, will you move?" This time the old man reached out to touch Wang Wan's head again. Just as he was about to touch Wang Wan's head, he bent his fingers like a claw and grabbed Wang Wan's head. At this moment Zhang Xiaobao moved. He used his elbow to hit the old man's waist. At the same time, his other hand had already pulled out the steel needle from his sleeve. His elbow didn't touch the old man, but the hand holding the steel needle actually stabbed the old man from behind. It was impossible for ordinary people to do this. They wouldn't use any strength and it would dislocate the arm. However, Zhang Xiaobao could do it. This was the escape torture technique. It was used to break free from bindings or handcuffs, and it could also be used to attack unexpectedly. Wang Wan also reacted immediately. She tilted her head back and used the iron bridge technique. Her legs left the ground, and she used the tip of her foot to tap the old man's calf. If one looked carefully, they could see a little cold light in the pom-pom in front of her shoe. Although the old man was just being supported by others, his reaction was not slow at all. Regardless of Zhang Xiaobao's elbow that hit his waist, he directly reached out to grab Zhang Xiaobao's hand that came out from behind. It seemed to be very difficult. He had to use his arm to slightly push Zhang Xiaobao away. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to touch the hand that attacked from behind. While blocking Zhang Xiaobao's attack, he also had to deal with Wang Wan. The old man seemed to feel that Wang Wan's kick wasn't simple. He didn't raise his leg to block, but raised the leg that Wang Wan was about to kick backwards, dodging Wang Wan's attack. At the same time, he bent forward and grabbed Wang Wan's calf when he missed. Zhang Xiaobao didn't use his elbow to attack the old man's bites. Instead, he took advantage of the old man's hard resistance and suddenly raised his right leg from the side. Wei Wei bent her body towards the old man, so that the steel needle in her right hand moved forward a little more. Her right leg was also able to kick the old man's body. The small velvet ball on Zhang Xiaobao's foot also flashed with a cold light. Wang Wan dodged, and when her attack didn't hit the old man, she first used her hand to support her body. When she supported herself, her body slid backwards, and she turned 180 degrees. She kicked the guard's leg who hadn't reacted yet, and her foot rubbed against the ground with all her strength. Wang Wan's body immediately slanted up, and her head just happened to be facing the old man. She put her hands together and separated them, and with half of her arm bent, she bounced towards the old man. The old man had just turned sideways to avoid Zhang Xiaobao's kick when he saw Wang Wan flying towards him in such a posture. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao's side had already bent down, and along with the movement of the steel needle in his hand, he had no choice but to give up the idea of standing still. He used his hand to support himself against the wall beside him, and his body directly moved back 2 feet. At this time, Wang Wan had already bounced to the old man's position just now. Zhang Xiaobao stopped with his back sweep, and with a spring of his leg, Wang Wan used her elbow to support herself, and directly came to Zhang Xiaobao's side. Zhang Xiaobao half squatted, while Wang Wan stood sideways. Both of them had 2 steel needles in their hands. The old man seemed to have not done such vigorous exercise for a long time. After dodging, he coughed. After a while he said, "Good skills even if you are using weapons. If I'm not wrong, the steel needles in your hands and the sharp knives hidden in the little things on your feet are all poisonous, right? No wonder you are so bold. 2 little kids, it seems like any one of you can deal with them. If that's really the case, if this old man didn't overestimate you in advance, I would have really suffered losses. This old man knows that you wouldn't do that even if you could take this old man's life. But I can't run away from some losses. Xiaobao, what's wrong with your arm? How can you attack from behind from behind?" And Cuckoo, at that time you couldn't see Xiaobao's movements at all. "How did you know that he could hold me back?" "Mine was trained." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he rolled up his right sleeve. Inside there was a hidden arrow launcher. There were already 3 hidden arrows on it. Trust and tacit understanding. Wang Wan also rolled up her left sleeve. There were also 3 hidden arrows. This time the old man was speechless. The other party still had a backup plan and he was forced to this point. Although he was a little older, he could even deal with an ordinary Imperial Guard. The 2 little kids were more than 5 years old, and their nominal age was 6 years old. Even if they were a little older, like 8 or 9 years old children, and they were still holding weapons that they had to dodge, it was still very impressive. It seemed that it was not easy for ordinary people to harm the 2 little kids. Their cooperation was too good, and their attacks were all killing moves. Needless to say, when the needles pierced the body, blood would be drawn and the throat would be sealed. Moreover, there were hidden arrows that were not used. Not to mention other things, when Xiaobao stabbed the needles in the back, he used a hidden arrow. He would definitely be shot and there was no way for him to dodge. At this time, the 2 Imperial Guards came over. One of them asked with concern, "Little young master, little miss, are the 2 of you okay?" Zhang Xiaobao rubbed the arm that had just used the detoxification technique and looked at the 2 helplessly. "Even if there is something wrong, I can't count on you. When we go back and start training, if something really happens, Cuckoo and I will have died 100 times before you can react." Wang Wan rubbed the back of Zhang Xiaobao's arm. The detoxification technique was not that easy. It could make 2 handcuffed arms at the back to the front in an instant. It was easy to imagine the pain at the place where the bones were connected. She was also very dissatisfied with the 2 Imperial Guards. She glared at them. "In the future, I will specially add this kind of reaction training. The 2 of you are far from enough." Less than 3,000 words free. Chapter 420. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't do anything to the guards. They had just trained for more than a year. It was impossible to expect them to be like the Imperial Guards. They could only train them slowly in the future and teach them what to do. The old man now looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the 2 children, more and more pleasing to the eye. The 2 children cooperated very well in the fight just now. Their movements were clean and neat. When they grew up, the 2 of them would have no problem dealing with the guards in the palace together. This was the combination of 2 swords, right? It seemed that the 2 masters in Bai Shu's letter should be a man and a woman who taught 2 disciples respectively. In this way, the 2 masters could be said to be very knowledgeable and knew everything. The 2 guards were frightened. They still didn't understand what had happened just now. They only saw the young master and the young lady quickly gesturing with the old man. The old man retreated. and the young master's arm seemed to be injured. They didn't know anything else, but it was too fast. You two go out and wait outside. Xiao Bao and I will talk to Grandpa. Wang Wan helped Zhang Xiaobao massage the back of his arm and ordered the two guards. The two guards knew that the young lady was a little dissatisfied with them, so they retreated embarrassedly. They secretly decided that they must practice martial arts well. Not to mention going to the battlefield to kill the enemy, they must at least protect the people they were supposed to protect. In the future, if the young master and the young lady were to do something, they wouldn't be able to live anymore. Grandpa, let's go inside. Grandpa is really powerful. If you had a knife in your hand, Xiao Bao and you and Xiao Bao should have used the sleeve arrows. No one would have thought that 2 8 or 9-year-old children would hide hidden weapons in their sleeves. And even less would have guessed that the two of you would react so quickly and cooperate so well. Tell me, what do you want this old man to do this time? The old man did not wait for Wang Wan to finish praising him, and praised the two of them. The old man was indeed very satisfied. From the position before the attack to when he retreated, the two of them were always so perfect. One was the main attacker and the other was the support. Wang Wan was still smiling sweetly. Grandpa, we don't have anything to do. We were just taking a stroll and then we came to your place. We heard that there was an old man living here, and we saw him on the shore. So, Xiao Bao and I wanted to talk to you and ask about the things here so that we can go back and tell Xiao Bao's father. Oh, strolling. Then you guys really know how to stroll. Come in. Xiao Bao's move just now was really frightening. It caught him off guard and caught him off guard. How could his arm do that kind of action? Detoxification technique, good skill. It must not be easy to practice, right? The old man led the two of them into the house. The layout of the house was very simple. There was a couch, a chair, and a table. There were a few small stools on the side, and a small table in front of them. There was nothing else. Zhang Xiaobao shook his arm and felt much better. He would be fine after resting for 2 more days. The detoxification technique was not that easy to use. He consciously sat down on the small stool with Wang Wan, and then said to the old man, Grandpa, you can't learn this skill now. Little kids can learn it, but it's too harmful to the body. It's very painful, and it may leave behind a root cause of illness in the future. This process is very difficult. Oh, if it's so difficult, how did you learn it? The old man also understood how much damage that kind of action just now would cause to the joints of the bones. How else can I learn it? I clenched my teeth and endured it. The things here are not worth much. If you sell salted fish in the same sea, you can get it, and other people can get it too. Why would they want to buy from you? The caravan that goes far away is only the one with the surname Shun. In the beginning, there were other caravans coming here, but the local officials drove them away and left the Shun guy behind. Life here is getting harder and harder. The old man explained in detail. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened attentively. The informants had a rough idea of what happened. Now, after listening to the old man, they had a clearer idea. Grandpa, how many mountain people do you think have no household register in Luzhou? What do they need? Can you let them come out of the mountains? There are still a lot of empty land here. My family and Cuckoo family's Yongye field have been given, but no one is planting it. It'll be a waste if we leave it there. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the mountains. Since there was no household register, it meant that the actual population was more than the registered population. Life in the mountains was not as comfortable as life on the flat land. It was just that the local people used to exploit them, so life in the mountains was better. The old man thought for a while and said, Your family has brought nearly 1,000 Kaifeng people here. Isn't that enough? If you estimate the mountain people, there are about 2,000 of them. They live in a scattered area. There are more in the mountains in Qin province. If your family has the ability to pull them down, there should be at least 5,000 to 6,000 of them. However, the mountain people don't trust outsiders. They are fierce. If you want to use force to pull people down, the little prince's guards won't be able to do it, let alone the guards in your family. If they are as strong as the two of you, we can give it a try. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very happy when they heard that. It was good that there were people. It did not matter if they were not willing to get in touch with them. If they were fierce, they could be recruited into the army. Zhang Zhong only had an official position in the army, but he did not have any soldiers. At this time, Wang Wan said, Grandpa, Do the local people have any relatives outside? How do they send messages? Is it the Shen guy's caravan? How did you get in touch with Grandpa Bai? Did you take the official route? Ha ha ha. These two brats, just like what Bai Go said, they were very clever and could not be compared to normal brats. They even said that they came here for a stroll. In other words, they just wanted to ask this old man if he had a flying slave, right? It's a pigeon. The old man was also a smart person. As soon as Wang Wan said that, he knew what the two of them wanted. Wang Wan smiled and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, "There really is a carrier pigeon. Grandpa, where did you get this carrier pigeon? Can you help us raise some? It would be best if you could teach us how to raise them. We can use the method of hatching poultry to exchange with you." Zhang Xiaobao also knew the importance of carrier pigeons. If he did not take out some substantial benefits, he could not do it. He gritted his teeth and prepared to take out the method of hatching poultry as an equivalent exchange. The old man's eyes lit up. He hesitated and said, "Your family's method of hatching poultry is not a long-term thing. Don't think that it's just poultry. When the poultry are in the nest, they don't lay eggs. At that time, a chicken will lay less than 10 eggs. Some will even lay less than 20 eggs. There is a big difference between a few dozen more eggs and a few dozen fewer eggs. It's good to take it out. Although your family has already taken out many things, there are still people who want good things. As long as you remember that the emperor remembers what your family has offered, it's fine. Wait for me to write a letter to the master and ask. If master agrees, I will help you train some people to raise flying slaves. My master is currently idle at home. In fact, he is busy with Meiguan Road and Diyu Ridge. My master's surname is Zhang. I wonder if the pigeon eggs can be hatched? Zhang Jiuling? He's back? Wang Wan immediately thought of this person and was especially happy. Zhang Jiuling's home was not too far from here. In the future, she could have Zhang Xiaobao's father write letters to them. He's back. Little girl, what do you plan to do? Do you want to spend money to help fix those two places? The old man asked with a smile. Yes, we must. We are not sure if the pigeons can be hatched. We can try. First, we won't tell anyone about the hatching method. When we have enough ducks here, Uncle Zhang will return to the capital. Then we'll have Uncle Zhang bring the method back. Zhang Xiaobao changed his mind again. The old man was stunned. How do you know that my master can go back? Of course he can go back after the places are fixed. Grandpa, tomorrow, no, in a moment I will send someone over to learn how to train and raise pigeons from you. Give me a number and my family will immediately pay to fix the roads for Uncle Zhang. Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic. He was prepared to bleed and use money to exchange for the method. Well, 1,000 strings of coins should be enough. We can't let your family pay for it. Find a few smart people. Why don't the two of you follow along? The old man liked the two children. They were smart and sensible. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. 1,000 strings of coins is too little. My family will pay 10,000 strings of coins to let the people who are fixing the roads eat better and let Uncle Zhang relax. Cuckoo and I can't learn anymore. We will definitely find smart people. In a moment I will have lunch with Grandpa. Grandpa, you must give me face. Reward, I couldn't ask for more. Bai Go has mentioned many times in his letters about you two accompanying him to eat. The old man smiled with relief. He rubbed the two children's heads with a kind look on his face. Chapter 421. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did a big thing. The old man did not ask Zhang Xiaobao if he could decide on the money. Bai Shu had said in his letter that when the two kids did something, their family seemed to be very supportive. When they decided on something, they would tell their family and their family would agree. This made the old man very puzzled. Why? Could it be that the family deliberately raised the two kids to do things outside? Or did the master predict this and tell the two kids in advance? It was not until he saw the two kids that he figured it out. Although the two kids were young, they spoke and acted like little adults. They were well behaved and steady. No wonder Bai Go liked them. It was so comfortable to be with the two kids. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan prepared to cook something for the old man. They went to look for ingredients. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were at peace with the old man, the prefecture was not peaceful. Zhang Zhong naturally would not let go of the people he caught. Shun Guifu wanted to punish them directly. As for the person behind this, Li Sun would bear the responsibility. He did not care what the Shun family thought. He also had to send a memorial to ask the other side to investigate the Shun family. Li Sun and the people he followed and the money he brought this time were all confiscated. The two arrested county magistrates were also sent to keep an eye on them. Zhang Zhong finished writing the impeachment memorials and had them send them to the capital through normal channels. When they arrived at the capital and received the approval, the construction here was almost done. The original local people in the two counties were investigated to see if there were any serious crimes. If there were, they would be sentenced according to the crime. If not, they would be educated and continue to be employed. The officials under them were counted. Those who were involved were all arrested. The prison cells in the prefecture were almost full. Those who were not local and could not be beheaded were sent to the docks to build a stronger dock. After a few days, when the people who were locked up became obedient, they would also be sent to work. There was no need to keep idle people. After arranging the affairs of the two counties, Zhang Zhong posted a notice to let the people know the situation. One day, in just one day, 2 people that the commoners hated were arrested. At the same time, a few other people were arrested as well. The commoners could not believe their eyes. The new good official was too amazing. In just a few days he had been here. He had the daily necessities, and the money of those who wanted to do something was also in his hands. He killed those who needed to be killed and captured those who needed to be captured. He acted swiftly and decisively. Xiao Sanzi, what do you think a good new official can do? I really didn't expect that those 4 people from the division or whatever didn't dare to jump out and cause trouble. An old woman did not know how to read. It was the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family who stood beside the notice and told the commoners the contents of the notice. There were too few commoners here who could read. Now, the commoners were used to calling Zhang Zhong a good official, a good official. The person who was asked was a young man who had just returned from the seaside. He was carrying a basket of prawns and was preparing to set up a stall to sell them. It took more than 2 hours to walk from the seaside to here. He wanted to sell them quickly, but when he saw the notice he stood there and listened. When the old woman asked, the young man thought about it and shook his head. I don't know. Anyway, it will be better in the future. Since 2 days ago, no one has come to rob me when I sell things. It seems that what the good official said that day was not wrong. My family has money. I want to borrow some money to buy a bigger boat so that I can fish more in the future. Okay, I want to change. If I have too much fish, even if I can't sell them, I can eat them as rations. It's better to dry them and keep them. It's better than starving. When you earn money, you must remember to return it to the good official. The good official should have money. I want to live a few more years and see what the good official can change this place. The old woman smiled so much that her eyes almost couldn't be seen. At this time, a person came from the east side of the street and ran directly to Xiao San. Xiao San hurriedly greeted him. This person was a manager of a restaurant in the city. He usually bought the fish and prawns that Xiao San caught. Uncle Exine, are you also here to see the notice? Xiao San asked respectfully. He also turned his body to the side to let Wei Wei see the prawns behind him, hoping that the person would buy them. What's there to look at? I've also posted one on my side. I'm happy to know that the scourge has been caught. Little San, I'm here to tell you a good thing. I thought you would arrive earlier today, but I didn't expect you to not arrive yet. I came out to take a look. I wanted Aku to look for you, but Aku is shy and shy. Uncle Exine looked at Xiao San and said happily. Xiao San knew that Aku was Uncle Exine's daughter. Every time he went to sell things, Aku was in charge. What a beautiful girl. Unfortunately, his family was poor and he didn't dare to show any trace of affection. Hearing Uncle Exine mention Aku, Xiao San lowered his head, as if he was afraid of this name. His voice also became small. Uncle Exine, what good thing is it? I really don't know. It's a very good thing. Some people here want to cooperate with some local businesses. My shop is one of them. There are also fishermen. If you are willing to fish by yourself, you don't have to do anything. If you have other ideas, you can join the fishing company. The fishing company has big boats that can go farther into the sea. The things you catch will be better than what you get here. When the time comes, the people in the fishing company will sell the things and share them with the people who join. They will also give money for the sick people, make clothes for them, and fix their houses. The people who join just need to fish and don't need to worry about selling things. It's said that the wages they earn will be several times higher than what they do by themselves. Uncle Xian patted Xiao San's shoulder and said. He thought that Xiao San was a good person and always wanted to marry his daughter to him. Xiao San was surprised and asked, if I join them and catch 100 caddies of fish, they won't be able to give me 100 caddies of fish? Will they deduct a part of it? You can catch 100 caddies of fish because they give you the boat and net. They also help you sell the fish. Do you want to get it? You can't be so heartless. Uncle Xian was a little unhappy. That's not what I mean. I mean how much they deduct. If they deduct too much, they will have to make clothes for the people who join them and fix their houses. If they deduct too little, they will lose money. We can't let them lose money, Xiao San quickly explained. Uncle Xian was satisfied. I'm happy that Xiao San thinks this way. Join them. Who cares how much they deduct? As long as it's more than what you earned before, it's worth it. I don't think they will lose money. If you can catch more hawksbill turtles, you will have more money. These are tributes. Do a good job and build a new house. A cook can live a good life with you in the future. Uncle Xian, I don't deserve, why don't you? If I say you can, then you can. You were late today. Aku is still worried. Come back with me. I want all the shrimps in your basket. Remember to do a good job in the future. Uncle Xian didn't wait for Xiao San to finish. He pulled Xiao San and started to walk back. They had just taken 2 steps when a new notice was posted. They had to stop and wait for it to be read. A servant girl in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family stood under the notice and said to the people gathered around, from today onwards, all hawksbill turtles and other kinds of turtles are not allowed to dig up eggs on the beach. Even if they catch the small ones, they will be released. In the future, we will dig some large ponds on the beach and put some weak hawksbill turtles and other kinds of turtles in them. Now, we will find someone who is most familiar with these things and will be in charge of this in the future. You must know what these things like to eat. You must be able to tell which ones are strong and which ones are weak when you see them. Sign up here and tell us about your family. Our people will take note of it. You can't lie. If you lie, you will be beaten and sent to the docks to do manual labor. You won't be paid. The people didn't understand why they couldn't dig up eggs. Those eggs were very delicious. They also didn't know why they were raised. There were some in the sea and they could be caught. If they were raised, they would grow too slowly. How long would it take to raise them? Someone asked this question. The servant girl looked at that person and said angrily, you only think about yourself? If you don't leave something for your descendants and they are caught and lost, how will your descendants live? People who go hunting in the mountains know that those with cubs are not hunted. What's the difference between digging up eggs and killing the cubs? Let me say this first. These are the words of my master. In the future, he will send people to watch. If anyone dares to dig up eggs and cause trouble, don't blame my master for being angry if they are caught. If my master is angry, even if there is no law, my master will find a way to make your life difficult. When the people heard that the good official valued this, they nodded. Xiao San said loudly, my father knows how to do this. I will sign up for my father. We will listen to whatever the good official says. If anyone doesn't listen, they will be going against me. When he shouted, the other people also shouted. They felt that the servant girl was right. If they were caught and lost, what would happen to their descendants in the future? They weren't afraid of those things growing slowly. After they died, they could leave it for their sons to continue raising. People in the crowd began to stand up and sign up. Those who knew each other also recommended. The mistress reported her family's situation. After the other party recorded it, she pressed her thumbprint. She turned to Uncle Xian and said happily, Uncle Xian, I didn't expect that they would even take in people who can't walk. Now my father will have a job to do, and our family will have more money. Your father is quite capable. If he hadn't been pushed onto the reef and broken his leg, he would be considered a capable person. Now that the person who pushed your father has been beheaded, your family's life will be better in the future. Tomorrow, I will talk to your father about the matter between the two families. We can't delay it any longer. If we delay it any longer, Aku will become an old maid. Uncle Xian was also happy. He also didn't expect that a person with bad legs would be accepted by a good official. After his daughter married over, she wouldn't have to suffer. The two of them talked as they walked. They talked about the past and their expectations for the future. The sea breeze blew, bringing along the clouds in the sky. Gradually, the sky darkened. However, the two of them didn't feel gloomy at all. Instead, they felt more comfortable. "Let's go. Wash away all the old things and make this place clean," Xiao San shouted toward the sky when he arrived at the entrance of Uncle Xian's store. Chapter 422. Pedestrians were in a hurry. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the sadness of the past was gone. Today, people were busy cutting meat and mixing noodles. Children were standing by the stove. Outside the window it was drizzling. People seemed to want to let the heavy rain wash away the previous hard days. When it was overcast, they bought some meat and took some vegetables home. They either fried the meat or made dumplings. Children at home swallowed their saliva and waited beside them. When the misty rain fell, it was time to eat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also busy. The wontons were called wontons. The wontons were stuffed with seafood, prawns, and soup boiled with shark fin. They were poured into the wontons and rolled out. Then they put pickled mustard in the bowls, some dried shrimps, seaweed, and coriander on top of the wontons. 3 bowls were carried to the table. The old man stood aside and watched the 2 little guys working together tacitly. He thought the 2 little guys would just cook some noodles. There were already cut noodles in the kitchen, but he didn't expect that they would chop the wontons and make wontons. They were busy but not in a mess. They were so nimble. When the 3 bowls were placed on the table, the old man couldn't wait to taste one of them. He ate one of them, which was fragrant and fresh. After drinking a mouthful of soup, the old man stopped. He was a little reluctant to eat it. Looking at the 2 kids who were slurping the soup happily, he said with a sentimental smile, "Brother, no wonder Baigo wrote in a letter that many people went to between the clouds and the water. Some people went there just to eat. He also ate there every day." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan can make such delicious food. You can imagine how good the food between the clouds and the water is. No, you have to add conditions for raising and training pigeons. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were eating to their heart's content. The fresh shrimps in the sea were really delicious. When they suddenly heard the old man's words, they stopped at the same time. Zhang Xiaobao still had the wonton in his mouth that he hadn't eaten yet. He reached out with his chopsticks to pick up the white chicken that was also in the pot and placed it on the old man's plate. He asked in a muffled voice, "Grandpa, what are your conditions?" Wang Wan nodded with a piece of seaweed hanging from the corner of her mouth. "In the future, you will have to arrange my meals for me. I can't always let Baigo get all the benefits." The old man was very thick-skinned. He didn't even blush when he said this. Only then did Zhang Xiaobao swallow the yunton and let out a long sigh. "Grandpa, next time don't say such things out of the blue. I almost choked. Isn't it just a meal? In the future, if Grandpa wants to go out, you can go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion to eat, or have the Ocean Wave Pavilion deliver it to you. My family bought it and even brought a chef over. He's the original chef of Between the Clouds and the Water. The chefs here were learning from him, and the waiters had also brought some over. The taste was not worse than other places, especially the seafood. They could eat it on the spot according to the old grandpa's taste. When the time came, they could customize the menu for the old grandpa. That should be fine, right? It's just a meal. Why are you so serious? It's scary." Wang Wan picked up some seaweed for the old man and said, "It's scary. Grandpa, eat quickly. It won't taste good if it lumps up. You can't wait until all the soup is in your mouth. If you like yunton, Xiaobao and I will come here often to cook for you in the future." The old man looked at the 2 kids and blinked hard. He raised his hand and rubbed the corner of his eyes with his sleeve. He stuffed the food that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gave him into his mouth. Then he scooped up a big yunton and chewed it vigorously. He was not afraid of the heat at all. No wonder Baigo said that I'm enjoying life. He must be not used to the sudden absence of 2 people over there. Xiaobao, find them later. I'll live a few more years and enjoy life for a few more years. I promise I'll teach them well. I can see that your family members must be living a comfortable life. They cook so well, and when they pick up food for me they are so natural. This is a habit they have developed. The old man was a little jealous of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's families. He didn't know how the two families taught their children. Comparing other children with the two kids, it made all the parents in the world feel ashamed. When Zhang Xiaobao heard the old man mention his family, he smiled happily and said, "It's comfortable. Every family member has a separate medicinal cuisine recipe. Grandpa, go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion first to familiarize yourself with it, and then you'll have it." Wang Wan also smiled sweetly and said to the old man, "Grandpa, you were so good at that time. Why don't you find some people to train in the future? You can watch from the side. If anyone doesn't do well, you can beat or scold them. There's also a sand table. When the terrain is explored, I'll play with you. Or you can live in my house. I can chat with my grandpa and Xiaobao's grandpa." Wang Wan found that the old man was lonely, so she wanted to find something for him to do. There were many chess and card games at home, and there was also a gateball game. She thought that the old man wouldn't be so lonely. Her grandpa and Xiaobao's grandpa didn't care about other people's status. They wouldn't give in to each other. Okay, tonight I'll go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion first. There's no need to stay at your place. If you have nothing to do, you can go there and take a look. Tell me, how do you plan to manage this place? Did your father ever tell you about it?" The old man promised Wang Wan, then looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed the soup and nodded. He did. In the future, everyone here will work together and set up various large and small trading companies. These companies will then form a chamber of commerce. When buying and selling things, they will negotiate the price with others. This way, we won't have to worry about others deliberately lowering the price. Good idea, but it's a pity that your family has to do this. In other places, the families of officials don't have such methods. Those who do have methods have to be coerced by the officials. They also have to compete with each other. It's very rare for them to work together. There aren't many big businesses here, and they just happen to lack a leader. You also don't have to worry about the government interfering. In addition, your family has a large fleet with new sales, so it's convenient to transport goods. The goods here aren't easy to sell because there's a sea in Qinzhou and the surrounding areas. All the goods are the same. If you ship them to the capital or Sichuan and then ship them back from there, it seems that you won't be able to sell them. The old man heard Zhang Xiaobao's idea and felt that it was feasible. Moreover, in the future, the locals would be able to earn money and help analyze the situation. As he spoke, he found a problem. There weren't many people here, and the goods shipped back from the other side would soon be enough for the people here to stop buying. Zhang Xiaobao saw that the old man only cared about talking and didn't eat, so he put down his chopsticks and said to the old man, "Old grandpa, do you think that when those goods are sold to a certain extent, the supply will exceed the demand? It's simple. Repair the roads. Before those goods come and go, we'll repair the roads that lead to the other places. Since Qinzhou is blocking us, we'll repair the roads to Lianzhou, Sumaozhou, Shangxizhou and Fengzhou. We can build bridges in Lianzhou. The Chamber of Commerce will pay for it, and the provincial government will also pay for it. We'll have the 4 prefectures provide manpower, and we'll pay for it. As long as we harden our hearts, we'll be able to repair the roads in less than a year." Wang Wan also said, when the time comes, if they want goods from the north, there will be caravans coming here to buy them. At the same time, they'll transport the goods from the other prefectures to sell. In fact, it's just that we lack a provincial governor who's willing to suffer losses. Otherwise, we would have worked together long ago. Only through circulation can we prosper. There's no lack of goods here, but the main thing is that there's a lack of means of circulation. This makes the cheap goods in the 2 prefectures become expensive. Qinzhou is blocking us, so when the time comes, we'll use the same method to block them. We don't have to do anything, and the local merchants will force the provincial governor of Qinzhou to come and ask for peace. The old man understood now. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said, "You two have learned a lot. It's a pity that I don't know much. Otherwise, I'd teach you well. Just like by Go, it's hard to find a good teacher, but it's also hard to find a good disciple. I know about the other prefectures, but Sumaozhou and Lianzhou are on the opposite side of the sea. Why don't we just ship them over to sell them?" The old man didn't know much about business. It was mainly because business was related to politics. He didn't know what political economy was, so he could only ask. Who asked these two children to be taught by an expert at home? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew why. Earning money wasn't the goal. Helping Zhang Zhong was the most important. Wang Wan said to the old man, actually, it's on purpose. If not, why would we build roads? We let them come over to buy the goods to increase the circulation and increase the floating population of our prefecture. These people need to eat and stay in hotels. There are also caravans that will arrange for people to wait for the goods here. This requires a special department to appear and act as a middleman. Some people feel that our prefecture is good, so they will stay and live here. At the same time, it's also a form of attraction to the people in the mountains. I don't believe that they won't want to live a better life. Now the old man understood. Everything was to accumulate political achievements for Zhang Zhong. The financial resources of the Zhang family had always been used by Zhang Zhong. People couldn't help but admire the effort that the Zhang family had put in for Zhang Zhong. They even made a little loss in business, such as cooperating with the locals, which would make the Zhang family earn less. Even so, they had to bear the burden and pave the way for Zhang Zhong. Thinking of this method, the old man couldn't stay still and ate faster. The reason why Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't finish eating was that they were waiting for the old man. When accompanying guests or elders to eat, the host and the younger generation couldn't finish eating first. It was very impolite. Seeing that the old man had finished eating, the two of them sped up. Just as the old man finished eating, the two of them also finished eating. They began to clean up the dishes and put them in the kitchen. There was no need to care about them. The old man had someone to wash the dishes for him. The old man found that he couldn't find any fault with the two children. He just liked them. He took the tea made by Wang Wan and sat there, sighing with emotion. If the people in the world could be like the two of you, then our Tang Empire wouldn't have to worry about the surrounding countries. I have to write down this method and send it to Master. Let's see if Master can understand it and learn to find a way out for the people there. Chapter 423. The county magistrate of Huaqing County, Huaqisheng, was also riding a donkey. The mountain road was not easy to travel on. When he heard Su Lai talking to his people, he also said, "You guys are the same. You spent so much effort to make us a mere figurehead. What about now? We haven't made you a figurehead yet. I'll give you a chance. If you think you have connections, quickly run away and find someone." When the officials of Huaqing County heard the county magistrate's words, they all shook their heads. They didn't dare to run away. If they did, they would be arrested. There was no one they could find. Those who knew them were the county magistrates of neighboring counties. If they ran into each other, they would at most have a meal together. Even if it was a normal matter, they might not help. Not to mention that the provincial governor of a province wanted to deal with them. Fortunately, they didn't have any lives on them. When they arrived at the provincial governor's place, they would admit their mistakes. Perhaps the provincial governor would let them go. They were indeed regretful. Who would have thought that the new provincial governor would be so tough? He had money and people, and he didn't show any mercy. They had also heard of Shen Guifu. He was a capable person in the capital, and he was the son of the emperor. If such a person could be dealt with, what were they worth? The news of the two counties being dealt with was deliberately spread by Zhang Zhong's people. He directly asked people to post notices in the two counties. The notice was written clearly. When the people of the two counties knew about it, they cheered for a while. However, the people who had the Shen family's mark on them were in trouble. The notice was written clearly that the two counties were to be taken over by the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family. These people from the inner courtyard usually had some contact with them. When they came over, they had specially trained them. Although they were inexperienced, they had no problem holding up the place. The county magistrate of Huaqing County, Huaqisheng, and the county magistrate of Ninghai County, Su Lai, had nothing to do with the person surnamed Shun. The geographical location made it impossible for them to interfere with the salt pans. They didn't have to share the money. If they wanted to share, they would take more. They only took out a little to rope in the people under them. The purpose was to make them a figurehead bit by bit. They couldn't get the money, and they couldn't interfere with the matters of the salt pans. The two of them had been looking forward to this day ever since they knew that there was a new provincial governor. Finally, The day they had been waiting for finally arrived. Just like the heavy rain, the wind and clouds surged and came so quickly. The two of them gathered together and discussed for a while. Then they gathered their subordinates and asked them to come and surrender themselves. They said that the provincial governor might give them a lighter sentence because of their initiative. In fact, they just wanted to bring these people to the provincial yamen and let the provincial governor deal with them properly. Then they could do things with peace of mind in the future. It was raining heavily. A group of more than 30 people walked in the rain. They didn't feel cold or uncomfortable at all. The two county magistrates and several people who hadn't been bribed felt very happy. The others were still thinking about what to say when the time came and how the provincial governor would deal with them. In the heavy rain, the construction on the dock also stopped. The workers hid under the temporary shelter and drank hot soup. In order to hurry, they changed the 4 meals provided by Zhang into 2 meals a day. They ate 1 meal in the morning and 1 meal in the evening. Zhang still didn't know about this, otherwise he would never allow it. It was raining heavily outside. The person in charge of cooking boiled some hot soup and added a lot of ginger. The people who worked had different meals. Those who were assigned to work drank seafood soup. There was little ginger and little oil in it. Those who were paid to work drank chicken soup. In addition to ginger foam, there were some ginseng whiskers with a layer of oil floating on top of it. There were also some dry biscuits left for them to soak in. In Sanshui County, of course, the first kind was better. It was seafood soup. No one liked the second kind. There was no lack of chickens in Sanshui County, especially the Zhuangzi of Zhangzhong and Wang family. But it was different here. Where did the seafood come from? The people who were sent here fished it from the shore. Small crabs and conches could be fished up casually. The people who cooked didn't even wash them. They directly boiled a big pot of soup. It was salty, so they didn't need to add salt. The rain is good. It has washed away some dirty things. Anong, eat quickly. You don't need to put the biscuits in the soup. Just bite off a little bit and taste it slowly. Then drink the soup. That's good. A person was looking for the best way to eat food. He looked at the people who were sent here not far away and said loudly on purpose to let them hear him. They usually should have 3 meals a day. Others had 2 meals, but they only had 1 meal. No one in the local people would think that it was wrong. It was good enough to drink some soup now. Who would give them biscuits? Those people also heard it. They couldn't tell what they were feeling. If it was before, how could they be so embarrassed? They ate and drank well. Unfortunately, they didn't enjoy enough. Everything turned into bubbles in the sea. They didn't know how long they would have to work here. Some of them were sentenced to 10 years of work. They were worried that they would have to work for 10 years. When they were free, they would probably be exhausted to death. The one called Anong was a young man of 16 or 17 years old. At this time, he was staring at a person on the other side. This person had beaten him more than once. He would find an excuse to beat him up. If it weren't for the whip marks on this person's body when he came over, he really wanted to go over and beat him up. He wanted to return the favor to him. In the end, he didn't need to do anything. That person was in so much pain that he wanted to die. When the marks on his body came into contact with the seawater, the taste was indescribable. The person who was being stared at seemed to feel this gaze. When he turned his head and saw that it was Anong, he sighed, turned around and slowly drank the soup. He got off easy. Since he was whipped, then forget it. The last time he beat me, I was in pain for half a month. I was afraid that I would have to work even if the salt water came into contact with it. He deserved it. Anong took a bite of the biscuit and muttered. The people from Kaifeng were eating with them. Because of Zhangzhong, the people from the two places seemed to be more pleasing to the eye. They gathered together to chat. When they worked, they also helped each other. They seemed to be very harmonious. The people from Kaifeng could drink any soup. In fact, they wanted to taste the seafood soup, but there was little ginger in it. They could only choose the chicken soup. There was a thick layer of oil on top. When they put their mouth on it and sucked, the oil was still thick. It seemed that they couldn't finish it no matter how much they sucked. Just as they were hiding under the shed and chatting, several figures appeared in the distance. They could not be seen clearly in the heavy rain and were very blurry. When the 7 figures approached, the local people immediately said to a woman who came from Kaifeng who was cooking, "Quickly prepare 7 bowls of soup. Add more ginger. These are people who came down from the mountain. They must have been drenched all the way here. The woman immediately began to serve the soup. In addition to the ginger, she also added some chopped green onions. She placed them there and waited for the 7 people to come closer. Among the 7 people, one of them was being supported by others. He was limping as he walked. By the time the 7 people reached the nearest shed in the rain, all of them had lost their strength and sat on the ground. One of them who was supporting an injured person even started to whimper softly. The injured person grabbed his thigh with one hand and touched the 14 or 15-year-old child beside him with the other. He said a few words that others couldn't understand. The older child finally stopped crying. Only then did the injured person turn his head and say to the person who brought the soup over, "Brother Lu, please don't blame me. Thank you. It takes 6 days to walk from our place to here. I don't know if it will rain or not. When I saw the place, it was raining heavily. I accidentally fell down and cut a big hole in my leg. I also sprained my foot. The fur and jade feathers I brought were all wet. I can't sell them for much money. Remember the money for the soup first. Oh, and the ginseng roots. Well, after selling these things, I will give you the money. Give me some of the burned wood ash. I will stop the bleeding. They don't understand what you are saying. Don't ask them. Are you going to build a dock here?" This person's face was pale and he spoke weakly. Listening to his words, it seemed that he existed specifically to be a translator. The other 6 listened to this man in all matters. He said a few words to them, then picked up the bowl of soup and drank it in big gulps. When the woman passed them a biscuit, they took it and ate it without saying a word. Over there, someone had already started to make wood ash for this person. This was the most common method. After the wood ash was brought over, this person pulled the leather trousers hard. A 1-foot-long hole appeared on the outside of the leg. It was still gurgling with blood. The place beside it was washed white by the rain. Just as this person was about to smear the ash, a person from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family, who had come from more than 20 sheds, shouted, "Wait a minute, don't use that ash, I have something good here." The injured person stopped what he was doing. He looked at the person and said, "I don't have so much money to give you. Is this a seedling on your clothes? Why do you embroider this thing? We only embroider it on the body. We won't stab such a weak seedling." Weak seedling? This big brother, don't look at this seedling. How many people tremble in fear when they see it? How many people will feel at ease when they see it? Come, big brother, I will take a look at your wound. It's free. You came from the mountain, right? My master, that is, the provincial governor, has regulations. Anyone who comes from the mountain can send goods to the provincial government office. The government office will buy them at a high price. They will also send a set of clothes, 2 caddies of salt, 5 caddies of vegetable oil, 20 caddies of corn, and 20 caddies of wheat flour. If you are injured, no matter how serious it is, as long as you are not dead, you will do your best to save you. As this person spoke, he had already put the medical cotton into a bottle of alcohol. He asked the person next to him to open this person's wound. After taking a deep breath, he said to this person, "Big brother, it's very painful. Bear with it." Chapter 424. At this time, another person with rice seedlings embroidered on his clothes came over. He took out 2 pills from his backpack and put them in front of the injured person's mouth. He said to the injured person, "This is for pain relief. This is for reducing swelling. You will be fine after eating it." After he gave the pills to the injured person, the 6 people who came down from the mountain immediately became vigilant. The injured person said something to the 6 people, and the 6 people calmed down. After eating the 2 pills one after another, the injured person said to the person who gave the pills, "I told them that you don't need to use any poison if you want me to die. Just leave me alone. You can't stop the swelling with ashes. Even if you stop it, I might not be able to survive. You also have a rice seedling with an extra circle of thread on your body. You have 1 circle more than him. He has 2 circles and you have 3. Does that mean your status is higher than his? Yes, I am a 3-star servant and he is a 2-star servant. You came down from the mountain, right? When the rain stops, follow us to the provincial government. Your wound is too deep and long. Drink more soup. When we arrive at the provincial government, let the doctor examine you. The 3-star servant didn't hide his status at all. It was also his honor. The injured person nodded and asked, usually when taking medicine it is boiled and drunk. Why do you have pills? The results of the medical school of Huaiyuan County are not much different from the pills of Yamacha County. They are only for pain relief and reducing swelling. After boiling the medicine, you can roll it into a ball with honey. It is convenient to bring it with you. You can eat it when the wound is healed. The 3-star servant explained. The injured person was already numb from the pain. Another person was bandaging his wound with gauze. He was very careful. He even wore a pair of gloves. He didn't need to touch the wound and gauze directly. After tying a knot, blood still oozed out. However, it did stop bleeding. The bleeding was not fast. With the medicine applied, it would be completely stopped in a short time. Why are you wearing gloves? You didn't lie to me just now, right? Is your master really willing to give you so many things? Or for free? Did he really say that the treatment is free? The injured man looked at his bandaged leg and felt much better. However, his body was a little cold. He only felt warm after drinking a few mouthfuls of hot soup. He asked the person who had finished bandaging him. Wearing these gloves that have to be washed after one use is like touching the dirty things on my hands to your wound. The things I use for you are the cleanest. Indeed, it doesn't cost me money. Now, am I asking you for money? What's more, these things belong to me. Even if others want money, I won't ask them for it. The medicine you took was his own. When you go back, you have to report it and supplement it. I didn't lie to you. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. The 2-star servant said with a sincere expression. He then checked the place where the wound was bandaged and felt relieved. The injured man really did ask. He repeated the words of the 2-star servant to the 3-star servant. In the end he asked, "Is it true?" The 3-star servant looked at the other person and nodded. It's true. Not only will you get a set of clothes, 2 jin of salt, 5 jin of vegetable oil, 20 jin of corn and 20 jin of wheat flour. If you are injured, you will be treated. I can also arrange things for you to do. If your people want to come down to work, the master will arrange it for you. No one will bully you. The wages will be the same as the others. If you do well, you will do better. When the 3-star servant said this, the 2-star servant secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, there was no such thing. It was all his own idea. The master would tell them some things. From the analysis, he deduced that the master wanted the people in the mountains to come down. Naturally, he had to give some benefits. Today, he finally had an opportunity. He first promised some benefits. When he returned, he would explain to the master. If he did something wrong, he would be punished. If he did right, he would be rewarded. Even if he was punished, he would still do what he had to do. His promise represented the master. Even if the master lost a lot of money this time, he would still pay according to what he said. He felt that he was very careful when he said these benefits. The 3-star Audiobook servant naturally couldn't undermine him. Competition was competition, but they were not allowed to use underhanded methods internally. They had to be unified externally. When he agreed, he added some benefits, telling the 2-star Audiobook servant that both of them would bear the consequences. This time the injured man believed him. He looked at the people around him and found that these people seemed to be different from the people he met when he went down the mountain. Their eyes were clear and their faces were rosy. They were very energetic. They weren't like this in the past. He took a bowl of soup from the person beside him and ate 2 mouthfuls. He was puzzled and asked, "Are you guys building a pier? And it's a big pier. Could it be that a big ship is coming?" "This brother, they are already here. There are 18 big ships. There are many goods and people on them. You guys haven't come down for a long time, so you don't know. The officials here have changed. The highest ranking official has changed. What's his name, CI? Anyway, it's powerful. Listen, this name is not ordinary. The original county magistrate, Zhang Yi, has been arrested. Another one, Nian Wanjiu, has also been locked up. Those people who bullied us when you came down are all there. Look, they are drinking seafood soup. They don't have any biscuits. Each and every one of them has been whipped. Once they touch the seawater, they will die from the pain. There was a person in the crowd who liked to talk. He came forward and spoke to the injured man. He pointed in the direction of the people who were working for free. The people surrounding them opened up a path for them. The injured man looked over and saw that there were indeed a few people who were showing off and showing off. This time they were able to work. It seemed like it was just as the person in front of him said. They were arrested. There were even 2 people who he recognized. At this time he forgot about the pain and said a few words to the 6 people behind him. The 6 people stood up and glared at him. What are you looking at? If you continue looking, I will dig out your eyeballs. I will stay here for half a year. After half a year, see how I deal with you mountain barbarians. The person who was being stared at glared at them and scolded them. You still dare to shout? I will let you shout as hard as you can. When the original provincial governor was here half a year, I will let you do it for half a year. Later we will take you back and interrogate you again. I will not lock you up for 8 to 10 years. I will write my name backwards. A man from Kaifeng who was in charge of these people saw that this person was threatening others, and went over to beat him up. The people around him did not dare to come over and help. They could only watch him beat him up. The person who was being beaten did not have any shackles on him, but he did not dare to resist. He was beaten until he cried out in pain. There were still injuries on his body. Seeing this person being beaten up, the eyes of the 6 people behind the injured man lit up. They could not speak the language here and could not understand, but they could see. They knew that person. In the past he had robbed them many times. Now that he was beaten, it meant that this place had changed. How is it? I didn't lie to you, right? Those bad guys in the past have all been dealt with. The person who spoke just now said at this time, yes, I didn't lie. It has changed, really changed. In the future, when we go down the mountain, we will not be bullied anymore, right? Isn't the price for the furs fair? The injured man was in fear all the way. When he came, he had thought of giving away some of the fur for free, so that he could sell the rest of the fur for more money. He could buy some things back, especially salt and cloth. Although this place was not far from the sea, they were also short of salt. It took 6 to 7 days to walk and half a month to go back. There were 2 people on the mountain who were about to give birth. The children could not be wrapped in fur. They felt uncomfortable and always cried. Usually they would come once a month. This time it happened to be 1 month. They did not expect that he would be injured. They met someone to treat him, the kind that did not require money. In the end they knew a big thing, the world had changed. After saying this, the injured man fainted. The people in the inner court checked and knew that he had a fever. They did not wait for the rain to stop and shouted to the people around, who is willing to help carry him to the provincial government? Lift the shed as well to block the rain. He is sick and has a fever. If we don't send him to the hospital, he will die. If it was in the past, no one would care. Many people who came down from the mountain died of illness. They did not even have a good life, so who would care about others? But this time it was different. Maybe it was because they had a yearning for life, or maybe it was because they knew that the new good official would give them a good life. People also became kind. Immediately, a few young men stood out and made a rack to put the man on. Then, another 50 or 60 people lifted the entire shed up. They tied ropes around the pillars and threaded them with logs. Then, a few people lifted the shed up with all their strength. A group of people jogged towards the provincial government. Some people followed behind, waiting for the right time to change hands. The 6 people who came down from the mountain ran in the shed in a daze. From time to time, they would look at the only person who could speak the language. As they ran, someone started to shout, "Hey, hey, hey!" Everyone followed along and adjusted the rhythm of their footsteps. Their speed increased a little. The 6 people who came down from the mountain also followed and shouted. They felt that shouting like this gave them strength. As they shouted, tears flowed down. They did not understand the language of the people here, but they were not fools. They knew that their own people were sick and these people were helping to find someone to treat them. Otherwise, they would not have to carry the shed and run together. If they wanted to find a place to bury them, they could just drag them there. Zhang, do you think I will be punished when I go back this time? Just now, I promised a lot of benefits. The 2-star odd-job worker asked the 3-star who was running beside him. How would I know? Wang Xing, you are really bold. Do you know how many mountain people there are? If you give everyone like this, I guess the things we brought will not be enough. Anyway, I have boarded your pirate ship. We will bear the consequences together and enjoy the benefits together. Zhang Lu was also taking a gamble. If he did well this time, although the biggest benefits would go to Wang Xing, he would still get some. If he did not do well, he would only be punished, but he would not be chased out. Wang Xing laughed and said, I guess I did the right thing this time. Even if the mountain people know about the benefits, they will not come down immediately. They will wait for some goods to be sent back and then come back. I guess they will have just made contact with the mountain people and be able to do some business peacefully. Think about it, it is impossible for all the mountain people to come down, right? They will only give one person who comes down once and not a second time. There are women, old people and children there. They will be able to hold on until the goods come back. If not, they will buy some from the surrounding places. Chapter 425. In the heavy rain, some were happy, some were sad, some were moved, and some were resentful. Lu Shaoqing and the other three were very resentful at this time. The four of them casually found a small tavern, ordered a few dishes, and warmed 2 pots of wine. Looking at the heavy rain outside through the open window, they were all in a bad mood. They still had their positions, but they did not have their authority. There were many things that they did not need to use their seals for. There were many things that the provincial governor's seal was still useful for. The judges were supposed to support the provincial governor. The matters that the judges could decide, the provincial governor could also decide. The matters that the judges could not decide, the provincial governor could also decide. The four of them reserved their seats, but the people below didn't listen to them, and the people above didn't need to listen to them. Lu Shaoqing looked at the wine and dishes on the table, and his anger rose again. These wine and dishes were all unloaded from the ship, and when he saw and thought about it, he felt the current situation. Zhang Zhong doesn't have the time to fight with us. What should we do when he has arranged everything else and is free to fight with us? Do we watch helplessly as we don't get any benefits from before? Do we have to compromise with him? Lu Shaoqing still picked up the dishes and drank a mouthful of wine. He looked at the puddle on the ground outside and said to the other three. The three of them also thought of the same thing, but they couldn't think of a way. They had a little money on hand, but it was impossible to bribe others. Even if they added up, they couldn't compare to Zhang Zhong's family's wealth. Just this loan alone, they had loaned out about 13,000 strings of coins, and there were still 2 counties people who hadn't been loaned out. With only a 10% profit, they could only earn 13,000 strings of coins a year. If the 4 of them had this much money, how could they still lend money? Countless transactions were waiting for them. When they were transported to and fro, there was a difference of a few percent. Now they could not compare. If they wanted to use money to buy people's hearts, there was only one result. Without money, they would lose people's hearts. Other than this, there was also martial strength. However, martial strength did not seem to be necessary. The crossbows were already used, so what was there to fight? They were not the original provincial governor anymore. The last method was to hand in the memorial. This had been done once, but the next day, the memorial was placed in front of the door and stopped halfway. Say something. If you don't say anything, are you waiting for me to think of a solution alone? Who knows what happened to the booklet? Lu Shaoqing slapped the table and asked when he saw the 3 of them staring at each other. Lower your voice. What are you taking pictures for? Someone turned around and shouted. Do you know who we are? You dare to teach us a lesson? Lu Shaoqing pointed at the man and didn't know what to say. I told you to keep your voice down, so keep your voice down. Why do you have so much to say? Isn't it just a judge? Catch me? Tui, just think of it as the past. Then I'll slap the table to help you loosen your muscles. I've long found you an eyesore. The man spat in disdain, and the 6 people at the table followed suit. The 7 of them were stronger than normal people, and their faces were tanned. One look and you could tell that they were the kind of people who did manual labor. Lu Shaoqing didn't dare to make a sound. He knew that if he made a sound at this time, he wouldn't be able to find a place to reason with them. If Zhang Zhong knew about this, he would definitely laugh himself to death. He turned back and said to the 3 people, It's true that when a tiger falls to the plains, he will be bullied by dogs. Don't pay attention to them, continue thinking of a way. He wanted to keep the peace, but the 7 people didn't want to. They couldn't find an opportunity. In the past, they were scared to death. Even if they did some work to earn some money, they would still be taken away. It was all because of these 4 people. Now that there was a new provincial governor, how could they not take revenge? The one who spoke just now stood up and walked to the 4 people's table. He said to Lu Shaoqing, "What's wrong with you? Don't you know how to apologize? Do you think you'll be fine after slapping and talking? What else do you want? After all, we are judges. Aren't you afraid that we will arrest you? You are bullying us." "You're right. We are just people from the outside. How did we offend you? You send people to take a cut of the work we do. You can bully us, but we can't bully you back. Are you a human and we are animals?" The man clenched his fists as he spoke. It looked like he was about to beat them up. Chow Hui at the side said, "That has nothing to do with us. We are officials and have many things to do. Of course, there are things that we didn't consider. It won't happen again in the future. Don't worry." "Do you think I'm stupid? I know that it won't happen again in the future. The new provincial governor is a good official. How can you be an official? What's there to explain? Are you scared? You really have 2 mouths. Apologize. Otherwise, don't blame me. I alone will take care of the 4 of you. If you don't like it, stand up. You didn't consider it thoroughly. Do you dare to say that you didn't get a share of the money?" It looked like it wasn't easy for this person to find such an opportunity. He wanted to vent his anger. He came from the outside and it was tough. He wanted to make a fortune here. In the end, he almost died. He didn't even have enough money to go back. "Sorry, it was our fault." Zhang Zhong did not know that the 4 of them were planning to deliver information to someone else. He was checking the accounts. The 4 judges were not simple. There was nothing wrong with the accounts. They collected what they should and handed in what they should. There were more than 1,300 strings of coins in the mansion, and there was also food in the storehouse. Zhang Zhong could not find trouble with the 4 of them. He knew that this was the normal income, but there were some that did not. However, he could not find anything. The 4 of them are quite capable. It is impossible to find anything. I will wait for Xiaobao to come back and ask Xiaobao. His accounts are more complicated than this, but it is not bad at all. Zhang Zhong put down the account book and muttered to himself. He stood up and walked to the entrance. He looked at the rain outside and rubbed his face. He turned around and walked to the signing room. He wanted to see how the people in the inner court were doing. After all, this was the first time they were allowed to leave. At this moment, a group of people came running along the street. There was also a big shed. Their feet made splashing sounds as they stepped on the water. At the same time, there was also the sound of people shouting. Zhang Zhong stood at the entrance wanting to see what was going on. The mansion's entrance was always open, just like the entrance of the county yamen. What if someone came to complain? As the footsteps approached, Zhang Zhong took a step back and waited for the footsteps to appear in front of the mansion's entrance. Zhang Zhong was stunned. He immediately asked, "What's going on? Wang Xing, tell me." Chapter 426. Zhang Zhong was stunned. He didn't have time to think about what Wang Xing said about making decisions. He immediately let these people enter the manor. Someone ran over to find a doctor. It was safer to treat this kind of illness. The main thing was that these people came down from the mountain and could be communicated with. No matter what, they had to be saved. The 6 mountain people who also came down from the mountain were arranged to bathe and change clothes. Some people also prepared some food. The people who helped didn't chase them out. They also arranged rooms for them to repeat the 6 mountain people's routine. The commoners were very happy. They sent these people back alive, and they were even allowed to stay in the manor by a good official. This wasn't a place that just anyone could come here. After they finished bathing and changed into dry clothes, they came to a hall to eat. They were even more excited. Now they had something to talk about when they went out. At this time, Zhang Zhong was also listening to Wang Xing and Zhang Lu's report. After knowing that these were mountain people and the way they dealt with them, he nodded with satisfaction. "Good, you did a good thing." Wang Xing directly promoted to 4 stars. and Zhang Lu also promoted to 4 stars. According to this promotion, go and receive your rewards yourselves. Thank you, master. The 2 people said happily at the same time. They turned and ran to receive their rewards. On the way, Wang Xing said to Zhang Lu, "You have to treat me to a meal. Let's eat in a good restaurant outside." "Sure. The best restaurant is our Ocean Wave Pavilion. I can afford it. Let's eat seafood." Zhang Lu agreed readily. After all, it didn't cost much and it was seafood. Zhang Zhong waited for the 2 people to leave. He sat there and began to think about the future. At the same time, he was very gratified. The people in the inner courtyard were much stronger than before. They could take care of things on their own. Although they didn't give out much, it was enough to make people feel that it was a lot. As long as the mountain people's matter was solved, this place would be stable. Someone go and tell this matter to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Tell them to come back quickly. Zhang Zhong stood up and prepared to check on the sick man. He shouted to the people in the steward's room. 2 people immediately ran over, putting on their straw raincoats and bamboo hats. By the time Zhang Zhong found the place for treatment, the 6 hill dwellers were already standing in the hallway of the house. They did not dare to enter and disturb him, nor did they want to be drenched outside. When they saw Zhang Zhong coming over and saw Zhang Zhong's official robes, the 6 people knelt down one after another. They were very respectful as they spoke in a language that Zhang Zhong did not understand. Zhang Zhong hurriedly helped them up one by one. Since they couldn't communicate with words, he would use his body to do it. Zhang Zhong smiled and lightly patted each of their shoulders a few times. He then pointed at the room for treatment and made a shushing gesture before he also waited. After waiting for an hour, he still did not see anyone come out. Just as Zhang Zhong was getting anxious, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran in. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the 6 people and whispered to Zhang Zhong, "Father, how is that person?" "I don't know. The doctor is still treating him inside. Let's wait for a while. Only that person can speak 2 languages. Without him, I have no idea what these 6 people are talking about." At this time, one of the 6 people came over and said a few words to Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong looked helpless. Zhang Xiaobao also frowned. If it was a commonly used dialect or a dozen commonly used languages in the world, he would have no problem at all. However, he had never heard of this dialect before. Wang Wan, on the other hand, came over with shining eyes and tried to say a few words to the hill dweller. The hill dweller shook his head and slowed down his speech to speak to Wang Wan. Wang Wan frowned and also slowed down her speech. She began to talk to the hill dweller with her hand gestures. After talking for a while, the 6 hill dwellers knelt down and kowtowed to Zhang Zhong. They seemed very happy and respectful. "Cuckoo, how did you know?" Zhang Xiaobao's lips moved. "I learned it. What can't I know?" Wang Wan raised her head and said, "Actually, I came into contact with this language when I was doing a mission in the past. At that time, the place they were at was too torturous. The 2 neighboring villages spoke different languages. Fortunately, they all knew Mandarin. I stayed there for 3 months and learned from the locals when I was bored. When I was almost done, I left. I didn't expect the hill dwellers to speak the same language as the people there. Occasionally, there would be a difference in vocabulary. You'll know after a few gestures." Zhang Xiaobao understood now. He looked at his father and thought about how to explain it to him. Zhang Zhong was indeed curious. How could his daughter-in-law speak such a language? His daughter-in-law had always stayed at home. When did she learn it? Although he was curious, Zhang Zhong had already acquiesced to this kind of thing. He could accept even more unimaginable things. He had already gotten used to it over the years. What else could he do? His son was his, and so was his daughter-in-law. When he saw his son looking over, he touched his son's head and said, "Xiaobao, in a while when that person wakes up, when I talk to him and ask him to convey his thoughts to the 6 people, let Cuckoo listen by the side. Don't make a mistake." Zhang Zhong didn't mention why Cuckoo would say such a thing. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and didn't say anything. However, he was very touched. Although there were so many incredible things, his family never asked and always supported him silently. Wang Wan stuck out her tongue. Just now she was anxious and excited. Otherwise she wouldn't have talked to him. She stood at the side and thought for a while. She felt that she should be familiar with the vocabulary, so she started talking to the 6 people again. Before the person came out, Wang Wan had already understood a lot of things. She said to Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Zhong, he said that village? Tribe? There are some people, more than the people who sent them here, fewer than the people who work at the docks. They produce chuiyu there. They also said that they lack salt. 2 children are about to be born, so they came over to exchange for cloth and salt. They used the salt to rub the children's bodies and used cloth to wrap the children. They said that if they used fur to wrap the children would be uncomfortable and would always cry. They also said that the people here didn't treat them well in the past, but now the people here are good to them. They said that they don't need to give them so many things. They just need to buy the soaked fur at a normal price. They will buy things back. Every time they say that, the sun in the sky has to rise 6 to 7 times and set 6 to 7 times before they can arrive. They also said that they want to thank us for saving their people. Without that person, they won't dare to come out to buy things in the future. They want us to save their people. They can give us more things the next time they come. That's it. That's it. Zhang Zhong breathed a sigh of relief. That's easy. I'm just afraid that they can solve everything by themselves. If they lack things, then give them. There are more people than the people who sent them here. There are more than 100 people who sent them here. They take turns to carry the shed. There are more than 1,300 people at the docks. It's hard to count. Zhang Xiaobao was also worried. Suddenly he thought of an idea and ran out. After a while, he came back with a bag of money on his arm. He put it on the ground and gave Wang Wan a look. Wang Wan immediately started talking to the 6 people again, and pointed to the copper coins on the ground. A person stood there, squatted down and played with the copper coins. He smiled and grabbed some of them in his hand. He added a few more, thought about it and subtracted a few more. After a while, he added and subtracted a few more. About 300 people. Got it. Sigh. Seems that they don't count. Zhang Xiaobao estimated the number of copper coins that he caught. There were more than 300 copper coins. As for the number of copper coins that this person added and subtracted, it was not important. Wang Wan said a few words to this person. This person smiled and stood up. Wang Wan grabbed 6 jin of copper coins and stuffed it into this person's hand. After she made a gesture, this person happily kept it and put it in his arms. Along with the sound of the door, the doctor stood at the door and said to Zhang Zhong, Master, he is fine now. These few days, give him 3 doses of medicine every day. After changing the medicine twice, he will recover. Zhang Zhong nodded. Thank you, Dr. Feng. Go and rest. Dr. Feng was really tired, so he didn't say anything. He nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile and walked out. Zhang Zhong led the 6 people, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, into the room. A person was lying on the bed. He was a little weak, but he was awake. When he saw Zhang Zhong come in, he immediately turned over and bowed to him. Zhang Zhong caught up with him, supported him and said, How do you feel? Where do you feel uncomfortable? I will find another doctor to come and take a look. These are your 6 clansmen. They have been waiting outside. At this time, the 6 people also came over and said to the person. The person was about to turn over and get down again. His eyes were red as he said, Sir, you are also waiting outside. Sir, I am just a mountain villager. I don't deserve you. You also helped to take care of the 6 of them. Sir, you are a great benefactor to my clan. What mountain people? Since I am an official here, then they are all citizens under my rule. 6 young men, it makes me happy to see them. Recuperate well, and when you can move again in a few days, let the 6 of them carry the gifts that this official has bestowed upon you and carry you back. I heard that you have a child who is about to be born, so you must take good care of him. Having a new life is a good sign. When my son Xiaobao was born, my family was overjoyed. Since then, our lives have been getting better and better. It's the same for you. Since I'm here, I can't just watch you suffer. Zhang Zhong put down his pride and chatted with the person. He even pulled Zhang Xiaobao in front of him to let the person see. Zhang Xiaobao naturally knew what to say. He called him uncle and smiled innocently. Zhang Zhong said this, but in his heart, he thought, Your child can't be compared to my son and daughter-in-law. There is nothing they can't do. Chapter 427. Hearing the words of the injured aboriginals, Zhang Zhong felt a little uncomfortable. He felt that he had deceived these so-called barbarians who appeared ferocious but were actually kind inside. They appeared to be barbaric but were actually filled with yearning for life. Zhang Zhong's expression changed. Zhang Xiaobao, who was proficient in many kinds of psychology, immediately understood what was going on. He quickly said, "Father, I still don't know this uncle's name. When he has a child, I'll ask him to send her here. Then I'll have a younger brother or sister." Hearing his son's words, Zhang Zhong also recovered. He personally looked at the bandaged area and said to the villager, "You have to be obedient. You are all people under my rule. If you don't listen to me, how can I let everyone live a good life? How should I address you?" "Sir, my name is Na Shu." "Sir, can you really let everyone live a good life? You won't bully us, villager?" It was the first time the injured villager had seen such a high-ranking official. He could not imagine how big the official was. After all, it was a very big place. Everyone had to listen to this person. In the past, he was disgusted with the authorities and hostile to the people here because he came down the mountain to do work and beg for food when he was young. The people here did not treat him well. He learned the language here and became an important person for the people here to interact with the people here. On the mountain, his position was second only to the chief. This time he came down and was injured. He did not expect to benefit from this disaster. The small official bullied people, but the big official was so kind. He unknowingly approved of Zhang Zhong's ruling position. Zhang Zhong put on a straight face. "Na Shu, right? In the future, I don't want to hear the name villager. In my opinion, we are all the same. You just live on the mountain. How can you send Chuiyu to the state? When will the child be born? If it's too late, I'll send people to send the things needed. When the child is born, if it's a boy, I'll take him as my adopted son. If it's a girl, I'll take her as my adopted daughter. She can come down the mountain and live in the state capital. I'll give you land. If you don't come down the mountain, I'll send people up to teach the adopted son or daughter. My son Xiaobao and daughter-in-law Cuckoo will have a younger brother or sister." The tree knew a lot of things. After hearing Zhang Zhong's words, it couldn't continue to lie there. It suddenly sat up and looked at Zhang Zhong. It swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva and spoke with a trembling voice. "Your Excellency, you really want to adopt my child? But, when I look at you, I can guess that the child in the future will be very likable. Xiaobao and Cuckoo play together, but they don't have a companion. In the future, when they have a younger child, the two of them will have one more person to play with. Xiaobao, have people prepare 100 bolts of silk, 100,000 coins, 20 kilograms of honey, 10 bolts of silk, and 1 bolt of cotton cloth used by the family. Send 100 frozen pork knuckles first, 20 jars of wine, and 10 kilograms of Longjing tea. As for the rest of the grain and oil, you can do as you see fit." Zhang Zhong praised Na Shu and ordered his son to prepare the things. Zhang Xiaobao agreed and left. Wang Wan stepped forward and said, "Actually, Xiaobao and I want to have a younger sister. Uncle, if you have a younger sister, send her to me as soon as possible. I will play with her and teach her to read and write." Wang Wan was afraid that others would prefer boys over girls. She had experienced it herself. The reason why she was thrown into the Zhang family was because she was a girl. But now no one would look down on her. What made her happy was that Zhang Zhong, her future father-in-law, had never looked down on her. Perhaps it was because of her relationship with her future mother-in-law that she married Zhang Zhong. So Zhang Zhong did not dare to look down on her. At this time, she deliberately said that she liked a younger sister. If she really gave birth to a girl, Na Shu would not look down on her. Na Shu looked at the little girl in front of him, as if he had eaten a calming pill. Thinking back to the things that Rinpoche said to give, he felt a burst of excitement. He finally felt the ability of a high-ranking official. He gave so many things that he did not even dare to think about, but he did not hesitate at all. "Darren, isn't it a little too much for you to recognize a son or daughter?" Na Shu did not dare to accept the gifts. "What do you mean by a lot of things for you to recognize a son or daughter? Those are not things for your son or daughter when you recognize a son or daughter. They are things for your wife to nurse her body. How can this official recognize a son or daughter so simply?" That will weaken the reputation of my Zhang family. Have you seen the boats at the docks? At that time, regardless of whether they are male or female, I will give them a boat first. The rest can be discussed later. Zhang Zhong wanted to make a good show. He wanted to let all the people on the mountain know how the provincial governor would treat them. Na Shu was so frightened that he began to tremble. No matter what, the gifts he mentioned earlier were only for his woman to use. His child was not even born yet. Ren Baqian was going to give him a boat when his child was born. He had seen the boat before he fainted. It was because of the heavy rain that he could still see the boat. He knew how big the boat was. Even if he sold his entire clan, he would not be able to buy that boat. Yet he was going to give it away just like that? He did not care about other things. His child was not a child. She was clearly a treasure. When Zhang Zhong saw that Na Shu was too agitated, he helped him lie down again. He advised Brother Na Shu, there's no need to worry. You'll know in the future that my family is not short of money. Even the combined wealth of the entire Luzhou can't compare to my family. My family is in the north of the capital. When you have the chance, you can bring your brothers and clansmen there to have a look. You'll truly feel at home when you're there. If you have a daughter, when she's slightly older, she can learn something here. If you have a son, your clansmen can move here. When the time comes, I can even let the son be an official. Huh, Baron, if it's a boy, you want to let him be an official? Then what about your Xiaobao? Na Shu panted heavily. He felt that he could not bear the good things happening one after another. When he thought of letting the son be an official, he began to worry about the other Xiaobao. Zhang Zhong smiled. I'm a 4th grade official. I'll be promoted to a higher position in the future. How can I let the son be an official? Even if I can only let one son be an official, I'll let my adopted son keep it. My son Xiaobao doesn't need my help. If Xiaobao becomes a general in the future, he'll be able to travel 1,000 miles. If he becomes a businessman, his fortune will be comparable to that of a country. If he becomes an official, then the corrupt officials of Great Tang can only wait for bad luck. Zhang Zhong felt that he was telling the truth. However, he realized that others might not believe him after he said it out loud. At this moment, Na Shu had no time to distinguish between the truth and the lies. At least, he knew that this new official's family was not ordinary. When he thought of this, he told Zhang Zhong about the matter that the 2 people from the inner court had mentioned. Zhang Zhong's smile did not change. Brother Na Shu, to be honest, I haven't considered this matter. They said it themselves. So those things are all. It's all true. As long as they say it, the Zhang family will admit it. If they make a promise to something that didn't happen, then it's the promise of the Zhang family. Brother Na Shu, you can rest assured. Zhang Zhong said seriously. Na Shu rubbed his temples vigorously. He really couldn't understand what was going on with this high-ranking official. The words he said and the things he did were incomprehensible. The first feeling he had was that he was rich, a lot of money. The second feeling he had was that he was kind not only to mountain people like him but also to his subordinates. A servant could make a promise on behalf of the master, and the master even admitted it. Na Shu did not think that such a high-ranking official would waste time to fool him. He could only choose to believe it. He would know when the time came. When the other 6 hill dwellers saw that this high-ranking member of their tribe was so agitated, they asked anxiously. Na Shu also told the 6 of them what he had told Zhang Zhong just now. After they finished, Zhang Zhong looked directly at his daughter-in-law. Wang Wan nodded and gave an affirmative expression. Zhang Zhong was relieved. At the same time, he felt an indescribable sense of pride. His son and daughter-in-law each had their own strengths. When the 2 children were together, all difficulties were no longer a problem. Wang Wan then asked Na Shu, Uncle Na, is your surname Na? Haha, I gave this surname myself. There is no surname in the tribe. We don't even have a name. When the child is born, we just give him a name. Look at him, he's called Na Tuesday. He followed my surname. Even though Na Shu was wary of outsiders, he could not face Wang Wan's pure eyes, cute smile and sweet voice. He answered all the questions and pointed to one of the 6 people and explained to Wang Wan with a smile. When he heard that it was a flood, he immediately became anxious. The tribe would be flooded once every year. No matter how they changed the location, it was useless. When the flood came, it would not go back to the original location. Zhang Zhong was also worried. When he saw that tree looking at him, he said to him, "Brother tree, don't worry. Send people back immediately. Don't bring anything with you. Just some food and water. It should take less than 6 days. Go back and ask people to cut trees and make rafts. When the water is big, they can come down." That tree had no other choice. He could only say a few words to 2 of the 6 people who were faster. The 2 people turned around and were ready to run out, but they were stopped by Zhang Xiaobao. His movement was very simple. He was 1.2 meters tall. He jumped up from the ground and jumped 1.2 meters in the air. He flew 2 feet in a row, and the 2 people had to retreat. "What's the hurry? Take the things with you before you go." Wang Wan rushed to the door. Zhang Xiaobao was half a body's height. Wang Wan happened to stand beside Zhang Xiaobao and said to the 2 anxious people. Only then did the 2 people realize who they had offended. They knelt down and kowtowed. "Get up. Get ready immediately. Remember to go back quickly. Even if you die, you have to spread the news." Wang Wan said to the 2 people again. She ran out with Zhang Xiaobao to arrange food and water. This was simple. They just had to find a guard. They had things that they always prepared. The 4 slow people and the injured tree were left in the house. They anxiously waited for news from the other side. It would take at least 10 days. Zhang Zhong had no time to chat. He said a few words and left in a hurry. The notice was written in the blink of an eye. He asked people to hold umbrellas and read it loudly in the provincial government for the people to hear. The content was to let the people be prepared to leave at any time. The small boats on the 18 big boats were all lowered. The guards of the prince's mansion and the strong people in the inner courtyard all went out to cut trees. The people followed suit. The construction of the docks stopped. People evacuated and made rafts. The things in the houses that should be moved were moved to welcome the arrival of the flood. The honesty of the provincial government was different from before. The people did not doubt. Some families who knew how to read the weather responded positively. In the midst of the busy work, Fan Jianxi and the other 3 people were secretly laughing. They hoped that the water would be bigger and stronger. They hoped that all the houses would be washed away. Even the houses behind the unfinished provincial government would be washed away. Zhang Xiaobao held his chin with his hands. He looked outside at the rain that showed no signs of stopping. He blinked and said, "The sky is falling. Okay, don't memorize these things. It's not easy for you to learn. Keep them. Think of a way to reduce the loss." Wang Wan crossed her arms. She heard Zhang Xiaobao mumbling and nudged him. Zhang Xiaobao stopped. He looked at Wang Wan and asked, "Do you want fame or money? I can't make up my mind now." "What fame and money? The flood is coming. It's terrible. Fame and money are too far away. Think about how to save the lives of the people in the province." Wang Wan was worried about the coming flood. In this kind of situation, some experienced people were more accurate than the weather forecast. After checking the weather, they could say when the flood would come. Zhang Xiaobao pinched his thigh hard and said, "I'll listen to you. If you want lives, prepare to take other people's lives and let them come over to develop. This move is a little immoral, but we have to make up for the loss of our side in the flood. And it's also a good thing to save people. It's a pity that there are not enough boats. If I had known it would be like this, I wouldn't have let the cooks and workers go back so early. I'll let them stay for a few more days. Now start to collect the ropes. Be quick." Wang Wan was stunned. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "Comrade Xiaobao, you don't want to calculate when the flood is coming, do you? You just watch those people be drowned by the flood? You just watch the children cry alone? How can you do this? You want to make money from the national disaster? How did your grandfather, the dean, get you promoted in the first place?" Wang Wan was really angry. Usually, she would accept Zhang Xiaobao's calculations. However, at this time, based on Zhang Xiaobao's words, he wanted to make up for the loss. He wanted both money and fame. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled and said, "It's a misunderstanding. How can I forget that scene? I was thinking whether I should ask them for money after saving them or treat them well to gain a good reputation. When you said that, I made up my mind. We need people. Luzhou's population is too small. What do you mean? I don't understand. Wang Wan was still angry. Nothing much. It's just that this rain is not normal. When I went to arrange according to my father's instructions, I heard someone say that they had picked up a few big fish in the county. They fell quite heavily. Why do you think the fish fell? Could it be that they found it too lonely in the water and flew into the sky? Zhang Xiaobao narrowed his eyes and said. Wang Wan paused for a moment before she asked tentatively, could it be a typhoon? Isn't this the wrong season? Typhoon is coming. What's the right season? Let's go and make arrangements. We'll save more people. To be honest, I hope that everyone will be safe. However, this is only a wish. Let's do our best. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled Wang Wan and rushed out without opening an umbrella. 15 minutes later, a new announcement was made in the provincial capital. The servants were also shouting in various places, asking the people to demolish their houses and pack up their belongings, especially those with roof beams. They were to unload the logs and use strong ropes to make wooden rafts. They did not want the other miscellaneous items in their houses. If they could be packed, they could be put on the wooden rafts and get people to prepare more ropes. The fast horses could only spread the news in Wulei County and Yushan County. The two counties further away could not do anything. Although they had sent people there to make preparations, they did not have time to demolish their houses. Everything was prepared. The entire province was under martial law. The two counties further away might not be able to do it, but the two counties here had no problems. At the same time, the matter of loans was also announced. All loans would be waived. All goods that had been paid for in advance would be given away for free. After all, nothing would be left behind in the end. The Zhang family would bear this loss alone. The people also understood that this matter was serious. The new good official gave up so much money directly. He was definitely not lying to them. The people in the two counties began to demolish their houses according to the announcement. They tied up the wooden rafts one by one and took their belongings with them. They waited for the good official to make the next arrangements. At this time, there were still some people who were in a hurry. Along the way, they met people on fast horses who came to announce the announcement. When the horses reached dangerous places, they could not run. The people on the horses could only give up on the horses and run to the two counties on foot. Do you want to live? If you want to, follow me and run quickly. When you reach the provincial capital, help organize. If you do well, maybe Governor Zhang will spare you this time. Chapter 429. On the second day, most of the houses in Wulei County had been demolished. The people who had lost their homes did not complain about the good officials at all. They just waited for the good officials to make arrangements for them. All the tents on the ship were taken out. There were also temporary sheds. They moved slowly towards the seaside. The people followed the tents and sheds. Occasionally, there would be some hidden bad guys who wanted to cause trouble. When they were discovered, they would be killed immediately regardless of whether they were guilty or not. The rain was still falling. The people from the Zhang family's inner court had already spread out and went to various places to buy things, especially Qinzhou, which was the closest to them. They used money to pave the way and bought a large amount of herbs, food, and cloth back at a price several times higher. It was also raining heavily in Qin province. It was the same for the neighboring provinces as well. Occasionally, there would be people who would pick up the falling fish. In some places, the houses were blown away by the wind. In this era where information was not up to date, all of this had been forgotten. The 4 judges who wanted to leave had no choice but to stay because of the state of martial law. They didn't intend to listen to the notice, but the house was still demolished. The 4 of them took the deed and wanted to go to Zhang Zhong to argue, but they couldn't even meet with him in person. According to Zhang Xiaobao's words, in this era of power, what could you do if your house was demolished? A place that was constantly promoting the rule of law could be demolished just like that. Moreover, the nature was different. This was not for personal gain. If it was not demolished, it would be flooded in the end. It was a pure waste. The rain these 2 days was too heavy. Some old people said that they had encountered it before. The Dragon King was angry. They had encountered it once a few decades ago. At that time the people here ran to the mountains. Although they were not flooded, the mountains collapsed and many people died. Zhang Xiaobao was ready to take a gamble. At most he would just spend money. Why would he need so much money? If he could not keep his father's position, who would be able to keep his money? Go on with all your might. Zhang, this time you will lose tens of thousands of strings of money. Isn't his family rich? Let's see if his heart aches or not. Let's see if it's bigger. Even though Lu Shaoqing's house had been torn down, he was still with his family. The servants had made a wooden raft and a shed. His family and the other 3 families had gathered together. The 4 judges were eating and drinking under a shed. When they saw the heavy rain and found out that the Zhang family had given up on all their loans and goods, they were all as happy as if they were celebrating the new year. Chao Hui took a sip of the warm wine and said with an undisguised smile, "This time, not only did the Zhang family lose money, but Zhang's position is also in danger. Such a big disaster, if the emperor knows about it, he will report it to the heavens and punish himself. How can the officials under him think about it? You can't say that." Some people said that the Zhang family scattered and went to different places to buy things. If they buy enough things and reduce the loss, maybe the emperor will consider it. Jiang Huanshi was also happy, but she was a bit worried that Zhang could escape this time. Fan Jianxi, who had been silent all this time, said, "The Zhang family is rich. If they can buy things, the price will not be low. I know this. Recently they bought the most things in Qinzhou. The price is 5 times higher than usual. So what if they buy things? The house is gone. Will the Zhang family repair it? I don't believe that the Zhang family is so rich that they dare to repair the house for more than 7,000 people in Qinzhou." The 4 people talked and from time to time there was laughter. This news quickly spread to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After Wang Wan heard, she curled her lips and said, "In the beginning, we left them alone to deal with them slowly because we thought they had some ability. I didn't expect them to be so bad. When real politicians are in conflict with each other, they will not gloat when the people are suffering. They don't even understand what politics is. Yes, we can make use of them, but we definitely shouldn't be so happy. If I were them, I would look for my father and tell him about this matter. Conflicts are conflicts, but when facing external forces we have to compromise. They've already broken the jar. After this matter is over, we'll deal with them." Zhang Xiaobao was also very angry. If this kind of thing happened in the current imperial court, they would find a way to deal with it even if it was a conflict. The imperial court in the past was not too bad. There were not many parties fighting. Even if there were, they would not use the people as a bargaining chip. After all, they were still influenced by some ideas of governance. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan said, "Xiaobao, I can't wait. I want to deal with them as soon as possible." Zhang Xiaobao first thought about the typhoon and the flood, and then his hand touched his face. Wang Wan was relieved after seeing this. She knew that the 4 judges were going to be unlucky. If Zhang Xiaobao was good at making money and construction, then he could be said to be a top figure in calculating people. Continue to move to the seaside. Start making food in large quantities. Don't extinguish the fire. As long as the fire is big enough, wet firewood can still be burned. It's just that there will be more smoke. There's also a reserve of fresh water. Boil it all into water and put in some salt. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and stopped. He walked to the door and gave orders to the person who was there to deliver the news. The series of things Zhang did a few days ago were reported. Under his orders, basically all the people obediently followed and did whatever they were told to do. Even if they did not understand at the moment, no one objected. All the troublemakers were dealt with. Pancakes were baked one after another, steamed buns were steamed one after another, and pots of water were boiled and filled into water bags. While the commoners were working, they were also moving towards the seaside. There were only 8 ships left out of the 18 that were on the seaside. These 8 ships were enough to squeeze in a few thousand commoners. See, this is the strength of the government. As long as the government officials are capable, they will definitely not be afraid of disasters other than earthquakes. Wang Wan said with her chest puffed out. Zhang Xiaobao pursed his lips and said, "This is the responsibility that we dare to bear. Okay? What strength of the government? My father has the final say in Luzhou's government. There's no secretary or army to make trouble. Of course, it's up to him to say what he wants. Which government official is willing to throw in the money of his family like we are doing? When Wang Wan saw that the people were doing things smoothly, she relaxed and began to argue with Zhang Xiaobao. Isn't it because we have to keep our position? Whether we keep our position or not, at least our family is really taking money out. You can say that we are pretending. Who can say that we are pretending for the rest of our lives? Well, I still have to ask someone to find some dry wood and a big fish net. Then let the flood wash them away. The grains that were originally planted here are also gone. After the flood, I will transfer 100,000 strings of coins here and start all over again. It will be more convenient to plan. Zhang Xiaobao also made up his mind. Since they could not keep their position, they would start all over again. It was fine as long as the people were fine. It was just money. Not to mention that the Zhang family could withdraw enough money now. Even if they could not for the time being, they could go to the capital and ask for cooperation. Countless rich merchants would be willing to join them. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao was encouraging her and using this spirit to influence others, but she still felt reluctant. She ordered a person next to her, pick out the strong people who have nothing to do and help me harvest the rice here. Get as much as you can. Yes. The person from the inner courtyard responded. After finding someone to make the arrangements, he came back and asked Wang Wan, Miss, your order just now seemed to be useless. According to the rules, the orders of the young miss and young master must be unconditionally carried out. But after carrying out the orders, you can ask, Miss, what do you mean? Nothing. If we don't eat the people, we can use it to feed the pigs, poultry, and fish. It's better than throwing it away. If we can reduce the losses, then reduce the losses. Those seedlings are not harvested yet. The bottom is green and can be used to make fodder. Do you understand now? Don't be too excited and busy because now is the time to distribute water. You have to deal with things without any emotions. This is planning. Busy but not chaotic, anxious but not angry. Wang Wan was quite satisfied with this person. He would carry out what needed to be carried out and ask if he did not understand. The people from the inner courtyard should be like this. After the person heard this, he thanked, Thank you, young miss. Young master, can you tell me why you want the people to make so many wooden rafts? We don't need so many at all. Just 1/3 is enough for the people to live. We still have the boats, so we don't even need 1/5. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the person from the inner courtyard asking him, he looked at the rice seedlings on this person's chest. There were 4 circles. He thought for a while and said, I shouldn't let you know. You are only a 4-star. Let me remind you. Our family has lost a lot of money this time. Do you think we should earn it back? Yes, we definitely have to earn it back. This kind of loss is too sullen. The heavens insist on messing things up. But this little one believes that the young master and young lady are even more powerful than the heavens. The person from the 4-star inner courtyard replied. He was not deliberately flattering them, as he also thought so in his heart. That's natural. How can my family look at the losses and do nothing? Then let me ask you, can we earn back that money from the people in our prefecture? Zhang Xiaobao wanted to give the person from the inner courtyard a strong impression. No, could it be that we have to earn the money of the people in other places? The person guessed. Something like that. Think further. Think carefully. Once you understand, you can be promoted to 5 stars. Don't just think about this and delay the proper business. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao did not tell this person why, and this person did not ask anymore. He knew that the first 4 stars only needed to make contributions or be outstanding during the examination. However, it was not so easy to be promoted to the 5th star. A 5-star inner courtyard person could be sent out to take charge. This could only be thought about by himself. The people of the 2 counties were busy. Not only did they have to take care of themselves, but they also had to wait for the people of the other 2 counties to come and help. Chapter 430. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Water began to flood everywhere. A few provinces were almost completely covered by the ocean. Even if there were mountains, it was useless. Those who hid in the mountains did not have to worry about being washed away by the water. However, the mountains would slide. No matter how much vegetation there was on the mountains, as long as the soil was saturated, something would happen. The valleys in the mountains were also filled with water. The heavy rain was still falling. From time to time, people would float by with a board. Qin province was flooded, Sumaozhou was flooded, Lian province was flooded, Shaanxi province was not far away, and Feng province was also in the area where the heavy rain fell. The typhoon landed on Luzhou. The people who had long been prepared moved to the valleys. The big ships were also far away. Only one ship was slightly slower and was stranded. The typhoon circled around Luzhou's bay and gradually dissipated. An old man who knew how to look at the sky told Zhang Zhong that it was just one dragon. There were no other dragons. Zhang Zhong did not care about the dragons anymore. He sent out countless small boats to pick up the people who floated over from the other two counties and the neighboring provinces. The people who lived by the sea might not be good in other aspects, but they had absolutely no problem in swimming. Those who went to the sea to catch big fish and those who lived near the sea all knew how to swim. Children of 4 or 5 years old dared to dive into the water to find things. All of them knew what to do when the flood came. Even those who were good at swimming did not swim on their own. Usually they would find something floating and hold on to it. Ninghai and Huaqing counties had been notified. They made their own wooden rafts and put their belongings on them. However, they did not tear down their houses or prepare so many ropes. When the flood came, families paddled the rafts toward the state capital. This was their only hope. Father, mother, can our family still survive? Why don't we go up the mountain? It's higher there. The further we go, the lower it gets. A little boy of 8 or 9 years old was holding his 3-year-old sister in his arms. He wiped the rain off his face and held a big leaf in one hand to block the rain for his sister. He said to his parents who were paddling with all their might, "Luo Luo, people died on the mountain too. What if we go up the mountain and come down later? What if the new good official doesn't recognize us? Carry Bei, we're going to find the official." The father used all his strength to row the wooden raft, enduring the onslaught of the rain. His son said. The mother also helped to row, crying as she rowed. Her home was gone and her land was gone. She didn't know how she was going to live the rest of her life. The only thing she was thankful for was that the high-ranking official had sent the news early and returned the wooden raft. Her family was fine. The little boy nodded as if he understood, and said to his 3-year-old sister, Bei, we'll have something good to eat in a while. The little girl who was 3 years old could not understand the pain of the adults. She reached out to touch the leaf that was blocking the rain and called out happily. After a while, the little girl was no longer so excited. She pursed her lips and said that she was hungry. The boy took a bite of a steamed bun, chewed it in his mouth, spat it out, and put it into the girl's mouth. Be good, Bei. Eat quickly. You won't be hungry after eating. When we get there, we'll have hot soup to drink. The girl ate half a steamed bun and was finally full. She curled up in her brother's arms and fell asleep. The boy thought for a while and put away the other half of the steamed bun. The family had brought food this time, but it was all raw. There were only a few dry steamed buns. It was better to leave them for his sister. He could eat the raw ones. The family of 4 sat on the wooden raft and floated in the direction of the state capital. As they floated, a large tree that had been washed down slanted and crashed into them. The couple tried to avoid it. In the end, they dodged the tree above the surface of the water, but the branches under the water hit the side of the wooden raft. With a cracking sound, the hemp rope tied to the wooden raft could no longer withstand such a large force. 3 of the ropes snapped in succession. Husband, you take Luo Luo and go. I'll carry Bei and follow behind. When the woman saw that the wooden raft had cracked, she shouted at her husband and was about to carry the little girl. The man was good at swimming and so was Luo Luo. If something happened to the family, they would have to leave behind descendants. The boy was their descendant. The woman was already prepared to give up. I can't leave my sister behind. I know how to tread water. Mother, the 3 of us will take turns treading water and carrying the wooden raft. We can't leave our sister behind, but we can't be without our mother. The boy immediately understood what his mother meant. He hugged his sister tightly and refused to hand her over no matter what. Luo, it's useless. The water is so big. You can't turn around with the wooden raft. You'll be washed into the sea. Follow your father. The two of you can cross. The mother was also reluctant, but she had to give up at this time. Don't say any more. Row. The water hasn't scattered yet. I'll carry her. At this time, the man climbed onto the wooden raft. He used his hand to grab a piece of wood, and his leg to clamp another piece of wood, so that the wooden raft wouldn't scatter completely. However, every time the water hit, the wood would squeeze against each other, causing the man to feel pain. The woman nodded with tears flowing down her face. She said to the boy, "Put Bebe down and row with me. We're almost there." The boy hesitated for a moment. He took off his pants and put his sister on his pants while naked. He then put the leaf on his sister's body. Only then did he pick up his father's wooden raft and row with all his strength on the other side. The wooden raft moved forward for another quarter of an hour. The man's feet and legs were already bleeding from the friction. The fingernail on his left hand was accidentally squeezed by 2 pieces of wood. 3 fingernails fell off and blood seeped out. Just as the woman was about to grab her daughter and jump down in despair, a few black spots suddenly appeared in the water in front of them. The black spots were moving very fast, and at the same time, they were accompanied by splashes of water. While the woman was in a daze, the black spots were already getting closer. When she looked carefully, she found that they were actually 6 people's heads that occasionally popped out of the water, and then sank back down. The splashes of water were also caused by the 6 people swimming. The boy also saw it and was stunned. He was a good swimmer and could step on water, but he definitely couldn't swim that fast. The 6 people's movements were almost the same. They seemed to be wearing black clothes and even their heads were covered. Their heads sank and floated for a large distance. When they sank, their heads dove into the water. When they floated, their heads moved left and right. When they didn't encounter waves, their 2 hands alternated in front of them. When they encountered waves, they immediately changed their movements. Their 2 hands should be stretched forward and just happened to pass through the waves. The 6 people swam to the front of the wooden raft. One of them took out a rope from the bag in his arms and said to the person on the wooden raft, "Don't be afraid. We are the new provincial governor. We are the guards of a good official. We have been ordered to provide support everywhere. Get up, don't lie down." As the man spoke, the 6 people surrounded the wooden raft. One of them climbed up and began to tie the wooden raft again. The man was already out of strength. He lay there on his back and kept saying thank you. The woman cried and carried the girl up. The boy looked at the 6 people with admiration. He asked the person who tied the rope, "What happened to you guys just now? How did you swim so fast?" "We were using the most standard freestyle and butterfly swimming. Freestyle swimming is fast, and butterfly swimming is easy to pass through the waves. We practiced it regularly." This person was easy to talk to. He explained to the boy while tying the rope. The boy didn't know anything about swimming. He only knew that the 6 people were really not slow. He asked curiously, "You guys are from the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team, right? I heard that 56 people jumped off a very high ship a few days ago and nothing happened to them. They can swim in the water for a few hours without getting tired. Is this how you guys swim?" "Boy, you are smart. We are from the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team. When it comes to swimming, other than some local people here, no one can compare to us. Master was afraid that something would happen, so he sent us out. You guys are the 12th wooden raft to be saved. Usually, when we train we have to learn a few standard swimming postures, but we don't usually do that. Everyone has their own comfortable swimming postures. Today is not the time to show off. We can only use the most standard swimming postures. Takes more effort, but it is the fastest." This person's movements were very fast. In just a few sentences, there was only one wooden raft left. He tied it while talking to the boy. The boy looked at the 6 people with serious faces. He didn't feel scared at all. Instead, he was very calm. The 6 people's cold and handsome expressions made people know that they were very resolute. It seemed that no difficulty could beat them. "Big brother, can I join the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team? I want to be like you guys, rushing from so far and so fast to save people. You guys are wearing beautiful clothes." the boy asked with a look of yearning. The person from the protection team tied the wood and buckled it. He smiled at the boy and said, "It's not that easy to enter. First you have to sign a death contract, then you have to undergo training. That kind of pain is unimaginable. Sometimes you even want to die but you can't. If you want to enter, you have to learn how to read first. Do you know how to read?" "Can't read?" The boy shook his head regretfully. He didn't expect that these people were not only good at swimming and looked good, but they were also literate. "Then you have to learn well. First learn how to read and write. Then you can participate in the training. When you are used to the hardship, you will become better." This person encouraged the boy. At the same time, he thought of his own training. He still hadn't finished training. It was not a normal kind of hardship. "Then, big brother, are you the people who can bear the hardship the most?" Compared to those two people, we are still far behind. If those two people fell into the water at the place just now, there is no need for anyone to save them. They can easily go back. If they are willing, they can stay for a few more days. Their food can be taken care of. This guard thought of the young master and young lady. He was one of the people who accompanied the two people into the old man's house. Thinking of the two little ancestors' reaction and ruthlessness, he couldn't help but tremble. The boy nodded and didn't say anything. Chapter 27. The wooden raft can also contribute, corrected 5. The man lying on the raft spoke at this time. "You are indeed worthy of being a good official's personal guard. You are really good. That small boat in front is yours, right? There is also a person on it holding something and looking around. You guys don't look tired at all after swimming so far." Big brother is right, we are not tired. We are already used to it. This is nothing. Our usual training is much farther than this. Moreover, we have to carry weights. Big brother, don't move, let me take a look at your injuries. The person on the raft came over and said to the man. At this time, the sound of a whistle came from the other side. One long, one short, one long, two short. The 5 people around the raft immediately left the raft and swam in another direction. They were still switching between freestyle and butterfly swimming, and they were still as fast as before. Big brother, don't worry about them. We found someone in danger again. Don't worry, they won't die. As long as they are still alive when the people on the boat see them, they can be saved. Even if they drown, they can be saved in time. As the man spoke, he took out things from the small bag at his waist one by one. Finally, he took out a piece of oilcloth and said to the boy, "Come here and help me hold it. Hold it above my hand. Don't hold it blindly. It won't be easy to treat if it gets infected." The bodyguard first took out a needle and wiped the needle with an alcohol swab. He then wiped the place where the needle was to be inserted, and gently inserted the needle into the wound. With a push from both sides, he opened up the extravasated blood and squeezed the extravasated blood out. Then, he cleaned up the other wounds and bandaged the 3 fingernails that had fallen out. After all these were done, there was only one place left. There was a 2-inch long cut on the calf by the wood. The wound was so deep that the bone could almost be seen. The bodyguard dipped the cotton pad in alcohol and said to the man, "This is my own first aid kit. In order to keep you awake at all times, there is no anesthetic in it. Bear with it and bite it." As he spoke, the guard broke off a piece of wood and stuffed it into the man's mouth for him to bite on. Then, he rubbed the cotton wool dipped in alcohol on the wound. Even though the man was biting on the wood, he still cried out, tears flowing down his cheeks. "It'll be over soon. What's this wound? You didn't see someone who dislocated his own shoulder and put it back with his own body. That person's expression didn't change at all. He was still attacking when his shoulder was dislocated. What's wrong with rubbing alcohol? I'm going to stitch it up later. Don't make a sound again. I'll treat you as a woman. You're not even a woman." The bodyguard listened to the man shout and frowned. He carefully rubbed the dirty thing out of the wound and said. He remembered the short battle between the young master and the old man. The young master used the detoxification technique. The body connected to the young lady behind the iron bridge turned 180 degrees and the sound made by the wrist bearing the force. Then, he thought about how the two of them could still continue to attack at that time. How much pain did they have to endure? In the end, the two of them didn't have any additional expression at all. They could smile after a little recovery. The man didn't know who the bodyguard was talking about. He didn't expect that the bodyguard would be so respectful to the two children, not only because of their identity, but also because of their strength. But this man was still a man in front of his family. He held on. Even when the bodyguard sealed the needle for him, he didn't make a sound. He bit the piece of wood in his mouth and his face was pale. He held on. After treating the man, the bodyguard didn't stay any longer. He said to the family, "Continue forward. There will be a patrol boat in front to guide you. In less than 3 hours you'll be safe. There are places to eat, drink and sleep. There are also doctors." After saying that, the bodyguard sealed his bag again. His body tilted, and he fell into the water with a splash. "Father, the good official is so amazing. The bodyguards can save us. Father, are you still in pain? This time my sister is finally safe." The boy was happy. He paddled and said to his father. The head of the family also breathed a sigh of relief. It was painful. It had always been painful. But he could hold on. There was hope. No matter how painful it was, he was not afraid. He looked at his son with relief and said, "Those people are not ordinary bodyguards. Did you see their bodies in the water? Their chests were above the water. It wasn't done deliberately. They just stepped on the water like that. These people should be the good official's elites. The good official sent them out, so there must be fewer bodyguards around him. It's all our fault. We clearly sent people to tell us, but when we were making the raft, we didn't think about what we would encounter." The boy didn't think too much. When he heard his father say that the good official sent out his elites, he began to worry about the good official. If someone was up to no good, who would protect him? Thinking of this, the boy paddled harder, forcing his mother to paddle harder as well. While paddling, the boy said, "When I get there, I will stand by the good official's side. If anyone dares to hurt him, I will fight to the death." 6 hours was not a long time, but after 4 hours they discovered that the sky was already dark and the rain was still falling. The family of 4 was still rowing with all their might on the wooden raft. Fortunately, from time to time, a boat with a lantern would appear in front of them. When they reached another boat, the family rowed the raft over. The boy asked the people on the boat, "How much more time do we have? I'm so tired." "You'll need more than an hour to paddle. Are you hungry? Come have some hot soup." There was only one person on the boat with a lantern pointing the way. She was looking at the charcoal stove. When she was talking to the boy, her eyes were looking at the man lying on the bed. 3 bowls of pork and ginger congee were served. A hook was released from the boat and hooked onto the raft. 3 bowls, 1 for each of the 2 adults. 1 bowl for each of the 2 children was enough. The 2 adults didn't care. The boy's bowl was given a spoon. "Little sister, it's time to eat." The boy carried his sister over and used the spoon to scoop up some congee. He blew on it for a while and licked it with his tongue. When he felt that it was not hot anymore, he brought it to his sister's mouth. The girl was very calm the whole way. She didn't cry or make a fuss. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and blinked. Now that there was something to eat, she smiled at her brother and put the spoon in her mouth. She took a sip and the spoon was clean. She waved her small arms and said, "It's delicious. Big brother, eat. This little one is very interesting. Come, give this candy to the little one." The person on the boat looked at the brother and sister and took out a piece of candy and put it in the boy's hand. The boy fed his sister a dozen spoons of candy before he started to eat. He put the candy in his sister's mouth. The girl seemed to know how to eat candy. She didn't swallow it but kept it in her mouth. She moved it back and forth between her cheeks. She blinked her big eyes and was curious about everything. She didn't even notice that saliva was flowing out of the corner of her mouth. The wooden raft moved forward again. It was said that it would take more than an hour, but in fact it only took half an hour. The family saw the scenery on the other side. The boy was like his sister. He opened his mouth and let the saliva flow out. After a while, he rubbed his arm and pointed to the other side and said, "That's the state capital? It's full of lanterns." The 2 parents were also confused. There were countless lanterns in front of them, but that wasn't the most important thing. What made them stunned was that under the illumination of these lanterns, there was actually an endless stretch of flat land made of wooden rafts. There were wooden rafts next to each other, and people were walking back and forth on them. These connected wooden rafts moved with the waves, but they definitely wouldn't break. How many wooden rafts were needed to make such a flat land? In the middle of the wooden rafts was a big boat. The boat was also brightly lit. What made the family most shocked was that there were sheds on the wooden rafts. "Father, did we come to the wrong place? How could it be like this? Could it be that this is a piece of land made by the Sea Dragon King?" The boy finally wiped off his saliva and said to his father. The father was indeed dumbfounded. This scene was a bit too big. It made people look like a piece of undulating land. A big flag with cute seedlings painted on it was propped on the big boat. It made people know that this was the new good official's property. Row over there. The good official is indeed not ordinary. He actually made a piece of land here. Alright, don't worry. No matter how big the flood is, it won't be able to break the connected wooden rafts. The father said to his son and daughter-in-law. Finally, he was relieved and fainted. "Father, what's wrong?" "Mother, hurry up and row. There will be a doctor when we get there." The boy looked at his father and rowed with all his might. Without waiting for them to row to the place, a patrol boat came over and pulled their wooden raft over. When the wooden raft was connected to the land, the doctor rushed over first and began to treat them. The boy carried his sister and mother, and was brought to a stable place. This wooden raft was also connected and repaired by someone, making this piece of land a little bigger. At this time there was no need for Zhang Zhong to appear. There were many people trying to redeem themselves by doing good deeds. Registrar Ian was one of them. When he saw people coming over, he quickly came forward and said to Luo Luo's mother, "Madam, did you come here alone with 2 children? A registrar Ian you are." The woman was so scared that she took 2 steps back and looked at the registrar in front of her in disbelief. "You know me? Then you must be from Ninghai County. Don't be afraid. With the provincial governor here, you will have a good life in the future. This time it's just a little water. The governor has already made preparations. Ninghai County, follow me. I will arrange a place for you to rest. Look at this little child. How nice, looking at me without blinking." Registrar Ian didn't dare to show off his power at this time. It would be easy for him to be shot dead. He smiled and said to the family. Chapter 431. Registrar Yin's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, he didn't expect the boy's mother to help him. She slapped the boy's head and scolded, "Kid, you don't know any better. Why are you telling the truth?" Before the boy could do anything, his sister started crying. She called her brother and reached out her little hands to rub her brother's head. Registrar Ian wanted to jump into the water and suffocate to death, but he knew that as long as he jumped, he would be shot to death by the crossbow in the air. He couldn't get angry and redeem himself. Who asked him to accept 45 strings of coins? He used to think that it was a lot and couldn't earn that much in a few years. But now he regretted it very much. 45 strings of coins was nothing. The provincial governor had already said that the first 100 people who did a good job in the disaster relief this time would be given 100 strings of cash each, provided that the people who had made contributions to atone for their crimes were excluded. People like them had no money at all. They could either do a good job or die. There was no third choice. Those who didn't believe that the provincial governor dared to do this had already been dyed in blood. The remaining people were those who believed that the provincial governor dared to kill their people. When people were killed, there was no trial, no evidence, and no one cared what time it was. It was very simple. You could move the crossbow and say that they were drowned. No one pursued and no one dared to. The girl cried and stopped. Then she giggled and opened her arms. Zhang Zhong, his son, and daughter-in-law were walking around. They looked around and happened to see this girl. Zhang Xiaobao liked children. When he saw that this girl was so cute when she cried, he opened his arms and welcomed her. The girl really gave him face. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao, she smiled and also opened her arms to let him hug her. "Aya, you're really heavy. What's your name? How old are you?" Zhang Xiaobao hugged the girl and asked happily. In the end, before the boy and mother could say anything, the girl stretched out 3 fingers and said, Bebe 3 years old. Brother 8 years old. The first one was referring to herself, and the second one was pointing to the boy. This was nothing. At least, Zhang Zhong could accept that his son and daughter-in-law were better than this. But when the girl pointed at Registrar Yin, she could kill. Badwa. The girl only said one word and pointed at Registrar Yin. Then she burst into tears. Registrar Yin was stunned for a moment before he knelt down with a thud. Little young master, I'm so resentful. I didn't do anything to them. I was laughing the whole time. Young master, don't kill me. I really didn't do anything. I was just picking up the people from our county. I already know that I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. I only took 45 strings of coins. I really didn't do anything bad. Young master, please spare me. Registrar Yin was most afraid of Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was different from other people when he killed people. Other people were either cold, angry, or smiling. Zhang Xiaobao's expression when he killed people was pure and cute. When the deputy magistrate of Huaqing County was killed, it was Zhang Xiaobao who did it personally. That scene was unforgettable for many people. Zhang Xiaobao held a crossbow with great effort and pointed the arrow at one of the deputy magistrate's eyes. He said, If you feel pain, tell me. It's my first time using it, so it's not very accurate. I'll be fine after practicing more in the future. There wasn't any killing intent in the deputy magistrate's eyes. He was just curious. In the end, the crossbow went in through the deputy magistrate's eyes and came out from the deputy magistrate's temple. The deputy magistrate didn't die. Zhang Xiaobao held another crossbow with great effort and pointed it at the deputy magistrate's other eye. He said innocently, I moved just now. It's a lie. This time I won't move. Tell me if you feel pain. In the end, this crossbow also missed. In the end, the deputy magistrate didn't know whether he bled to death or died of pain. Anyway, he didn't die a quick death. Who wouldn't be afraid of such a child? The deputy magistrate's death wasn't unjust at all. He once raped a woman in the county. This time he met her and wanted to do something with her. In the end, the woman didn't agree and he slapped her. With this one slap, everything was revealed. Because of this, Wang Wan was angry with Zhang Xiaobao for a long time. She said that he made the deputy magistrate die too quickly. Zhang Xiaobao sincerely apologized and said that the next time he met the deputy magistrate, it would be difficult for him to die even if he wanted to. In the face of such a person, Registrar Yin would be lying if he said that he wasn't afraid. Zhang Xiaobao smiled innocently. He looked at the trembling Registrar Yin and asked, Let this little girl give you 2 big slaps, okay? Okay, hit her with all your strength. Thank you, little young master. I will remember your kindness for life. Registrar Yin didn't care about whether it was embarrassing or not. He was overjoyed. Not to mention that the little girl had grown up, even her mother would do. It was better than the little young master doing it himself. Bei hit him. He's a bad guy. Zhang Xiaobao carried Bei in front of Registrar Yin and taught him. Registrar Yin moved his face closer to Bei. Bad guy, hit. Bei waved her small hands and hit Registrar Yin's head twice. She didn't know how to hit the face at all. She stretched out her hands and smiled at Zhang Zhong, saying hug. Zhang Zhong also liked children. He took Bei over and kissed her hard. Unexpectedly, Bei took the initiative to kiss Zhang Zhong again. She giggled. Take hypnosis for example. It is a joke to ordinary people, but we live in a hypnotic environment all the time. As long as people's metabolism can't be separated from the chloride ion, they will be affected by the flow of electrons. Put a normal person in a group of mentally ill people and listen to the screams of the mentally ill people every day. Very few people are unaffected. Of course, people like you are an exception. Wang Wan understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. He wanted to bring out the essence of a baby as much as possible. He didn't want this essence to be deliberately destroyed later on, but to promote his development. Let's start with Huayuan County. I only thought of this when I saw Bei. Bei's mental waves should be greater than ordinary people's, and he should be able to feel everyone's attitude towards him. I feel that it would be a waste to form a system for him, but it would be a pity to give up on him. Zhang Xiaobao was in a tough spot. He was quite proficient in this aspect. The simplest example was when he had personally gone for an interview in the past. He had purposely made the room big. The place where he sat was like the throne of a palace, while the person being interviewed was surrounded by empty space. Especially behind them, when a door was opened, it was actually an open window, and it was at a place above the 10th floor. There were some sophisticated instruments on the chair. Some of the interviewees were afraid, some were empty, some were angry, some were calm, and some even turned around and left. Then you should do as you say, right? You made it so mysterious and scary. Wang Wan actually didn't want to get involved with things that were too realistic. You also feel afraid, right? I actually feel cold all over when I think about it. The more I think about the origin of a person, the more I feel insignificant, especially when it comes to the creation of the universe. Therefore, I decided that in order to not let those 4 people mess with me, I will let them know some things that we can't understand. Zhang Xiaobao didn't mention the child. He talked about the influence of spirit and thinking, and specifically targeted the 4 people. What about the child? Wang Wan asked at this moment. Children are divided into different age groups, and we use building blocks and drawings to cultivate them. It's a pity that technology can't keep up. Find a few people to talk about their own things next to the child, and it's all the basics. Where the child is willing to climb to listen, we can analyze according to probability. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the black and white water outside, and felt that some things were really hard to grasp. Chapter 432. Zhang Zhong carried Bei in his arms. Since he did not have time to open an umbrella, he could only stuff Bei into his clothes. Then he went to check on Bei's father. This man was usually an honest man, so honest that it made people feel that he was a little cowardly. However, this time he stood up straight. After receiving treatment from the doctor, he ignored his injuries and busied himself with the others to collect the fallen trees. These trees were used to build sheds, and now the sheds were leaking. On the land formed by countless wooden rafts, the people who could not do anything tied themselves to the rafts. The wind and rain did not stop, and the waves were surging. With each wave, the land formed by the wooden rafts would rise and fall. There were many ropes that could be used, and they were firmly tied. The safety island in the hearts of the people was not broken. From time to time, the boats released would pick up the people who were washed into the water. Those who had their own rafts or boats would point out the way. The people of Luzhou were not the only people who were rescued. The mountain people and the people from other provinces were also rescued. When dawn came, only 200 to 300 people of Luzhou's 7,000 people had not arrived. It was unknown whether they were dead or not. Many mountain people were washed into the water, and were also arranged on the land. They were vigilant against the people around them, and they did not refuse the food they were given. When Zhang Xiaobao, who had not slept all night, received the data of the missing people of Luzhou, he closed his eyes in pain. Wang Wan, who was beside him, also had a heavy heart. Although the 2 of them killed without batting an eyelid, they only killed bad people. They could not bear to kill these people. They knew too much about the darkness, and they always wanted to leave a pure land where the people could live like a family. Xiaobao, expand the search area. Maybe some of the people ran to the mountains, and maybe some are still floating in the water. The 4 guys who were gloating are also here. What should we do? Wang Wan said as she massaged Zhang Xiaobao's head. After a day and a night, she finally saw the planning and calculation ability of an international swindler. The people of the inner court were sent out to collect information. All kinds of requests and information were reported. Zhang Xiaobao was in charge, and he arranged everything just right, no matter how big or small. He was able to take care of everything from the search area of the fleet to the injured and sick people. After arranging the search method, he would occasionally ask if someone's fever had subsided. What method did he use? All he had to do was ask a child whose mouth was injured if he could eat, and everything would be under his control. He would even ask about what the officials were doing to atone for their crimes. All the messy information would be sorted out in front of him. This was what it meant to have no empty seats under a great reputation. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed exhausted. He had not done this for a long time. Even though he knew he was tired, he could not stop. At this time it would be a sin to not use his ability. Perhaps what he saw was just data, but in reality they were living people. One less person would be an unbearable pain for a family. Hearing Wang Wan's suggestion, he nodded and said, "No need. Continue with your work. We'll just need to take a nap for 1.5 hours. Let our 56 people expand the search area. At this time we can only use them. We've trained them for 1,000 days to use them for 1 day. Let's see how their training has turned out." Those 4 people also came. Good. Tell the cook not to give them food. Aren't you just waiting to see a joke? Even if they starve to death, don't let them build a shelter. Let them stay on their own wooden raft. They are not allowed to come close to this land. If they have the ability, they can row elsewhere. Zhang Xiaobao said it casually, but Wang Wan knew that if they did so, it would be equivalent to giving the 4 people and their families a death sentence. The gale had only come once, and it was because of the geography of the bay. There were still other gale after that. If they were not connected, the small wooden raft could be overturned at any time. Wang Wan picked up the whistle and blew it rhythmically. At this time the sound of the whistle traveled the furthest. Once it was passed down, the 56 people would know the new order. "Xiaobao, are you really going to let the 4 people and their families die? There are still some servants." Wang Wan asked as she squatted on the wooden raft where water flowed out and down from time to time. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "Who said we're going to let them die? They still have land and money at home. This time they will connect the wooden rafts by themselves. But food will be a problem. I don't believe that they are as well prepared as we are. When the time comes, we will sell them food. Do you think it's expensive to sell a steamed bun for 50 copper coins? It's too cheap. Vegetable steamed buns cost 100 copper coins each, and meat steamed buns cost 300 copper coins each. Let's get them to pay first. When they run out of money, we will write a written agreement. They have a salary and land at home. They can slowly pay us back later." Wang Wan did not have any intention of showing mercy. If she did not take this opportunity to teach the 4 people a lesson, they would not know how powerful she was. As for their families, Wang Wan did not think that they were innocent. If their families could persuade them normally, the 4 people would do the same. After receiving the order, the 56 people began to regroup. The original group of 6 or 7 people became a group of 2 people. They rowed the boats and used the clairvoyance to expand the search area. They also did not rest for the whole night. Most of the time, they were soaking in the water and did not eat anything. They were always ready to save people. Fortunately, this was part of their daily training, allowing them to work at high efficiency for 24 hours straight. One by one, they took out the black poppy ointment from their bags and took a small bite. The reaction was very fast when it entered their stomachs. It did not take long for them to feel that their stomachs were warm and they were energetic. They also knew that this was called overdrafting their physical strength, but they had to do it. Their lives were as heavy as a mountain. Even if they died, they had to complete the mission first. Needless to say, after expanding the search area, they really did find some people in need of help. Some people even climbed up the trees with their whole families. They were shivering from the cold and did not dare to jump into the turbulence. After being rescued and put on the boats, they knelt on the boats and kowtowed to the people who saved them. It was not only the people from Benzhou, but also the people from Qinzhou, Shaanxizhou, and Fengzhou. These places seemed to have experienced the flood earlier. Some people carried logs and floated over. Some people were even able to persevere and swim. The rescue guards were shocked. These people were really good at swimming. On a large log that floated out from the mountains of Qinzhou, a simple and honest-looking man kept talking to the 5 people on the log who had almost lost the confidence to survive. "Don't worry, Zhang Dashan will never be wrong. Don't be fooled by the flood everywhere. If we continue to float forward, we will reach my master's territory. My master is not like the other officials who wait foolishly and do nothing in the face of the flood. My master is definitely prepared. Dashan, don't lie to us. If what you said is true, your master is the provincial governor in Luzhou. He is being bullied miserably now. If you have a master who is the provincial governor, why would you be here? You just bought a shop and you lost all your money, right? Now that the shop is flooded, how are you going to live in the future? If you are washed away by the water, you will be washed into the sea in the end. If we can survive, you can come to my place and be an assistant. I think you are a good person, so you should be good. A man in a Sioux-embroidered robe who was sitting on the log said to Zhang Dashan. He liked this guy very much. Zhang Dashan shook his head vigorously and said, I am not going to your place. When I find my master, I will ask him what to do. If the shop is gone, then so be it. Look at me, I am carrying a big bag with me. Inside are the things that will keep me alive. Before I came out, I brought 10 smoked chickens for my master. You must be hungry, right? You are lucky. 3 people can eat one and we can eat 2 first. This smoked chicken is not afraid of getting cold. It can be eaten even after it has been watered by the rain. I came here by land on the Zhang family's cargo ship. I wanted to open a shop here, and if I had the chance in the future, I would look for my master and give him some smoked chickens to eat. But as soon as I opened the shop, I was hit by the flood. Now I have to look for my master and ask for his help. I am so stupid, don't you think? When I find my master, he will give me money to open the shop. I have received a favor from him once, so I am embarrassed. The 5 people on the log didn't believe what Zhang Dashan said at all. It was full of loopholes. But at this time it was really good to listen to it. At least they didn't feel so lonely. Zhang Dashan really took out 2 smoked chickens from the big bag. He first tore off 2 chicken claws, 2 chicken wings, and 1 chicken head. He already knew that with the power of that official's family, it was impossible for Zhang Dashan to be roped in by others. At this time, the old man of the father and daughter pair asked Zhang Dashan, Dashan, you are a farmer. How did you have the money to open a shop? Now that the money is gone, will your master really give you the money? Of course, my master is good to us. I borrowed money from him first, and I will return it when the time comes. In fact, as long as I can go home, I won't be short of money. We are different from other farmers. We have 40 pigs, more than 300 ducks, and 200 chickens, so we don't lack money. Although we are farmers, we live in a 2-story building, and we have dozens of strings of cash at home. Last year's bumper harvest, our family earned a lot. We have people in Zhuangzi who are sick, and we don't need money for treatment. We also have people who make clothes for us. When we earn more money, we will go back and find a wife. When we have children, we will send them to the school in Zhuangzi. When Zhang Dashan talked about Zhuangzi and the main house, he became even more proud. He told the story of his family bit by bit, making people feel that he was not a farmer, but the main house in Zhuangzi. He lived in a 2-story building and raised so many things. His family was not short of money at all. No wonder he was not worried at all about the house that he had just bought being washed away. The old man was satisfied. He held his daughter's hand and said to Zhang Dashan, Dashan, what do you think of my daughter? She said she would be your wife. As long as you are good to my daughter, she will marry you after she settles down. Father, I won't marry, so I will accompany you, the girl said shyly. Her words showed that she did not agree, but her eyes kept glancing at Zhang Dashan. She was very satisfied with this simple and honest man, especially the chicken that had not been eaten yet. Tasted so good. Zhang Dashan looked at the girl and said to the old man, my Zhuangzi is different from other places. If she marries me, she will have to sign a death contract. I don't know if your daughter is willing to study. If she is not, I will not agree no matter what. We farmers need to be literate. Dashan, you can read too? The 5 people were surprised. They did not expect a farmer to be literate. How can I open a shop if I can't read? I can do accounting and I'm not slow. The accounting books I use are taught by the main house. If there is a loan, there is a loan, and if there is a loan, there must be an equal return. It took me a lot of effort to learn, but in the end I learned it. Zhang Dashan felt that knowing how to do accounting was also a skill. Ordinary girls were not good enough for him. The woman couldn't take her eyes off Zhang Dashan. This man was simple, honest, and knew how to cook delicious smoked chicken. He was literate, and his family background was not bad. He even knew how to calculate. His body was strong. Thinking of this, the woman squeezed her father's hand. The old man immediately understood what his daughter meant. She had taken a fancy to him. Unfortunately, he was very capable and had high requirements. He even wanted to sign a death contract. Dashan, no one in my family has ever learned to read. If I give my daughter to you, can you teach her? Why do you have to sign a death contract? The old man did not want to give up such a good son-in-law, so he asked Zhang Dashan. Zhang Dashan smiled honestly and said, I don't need to teach her. There is a special night school in Zhuangzi, and there is an invited teacher to teach her. The death contract must be signed. Otherwise, there are many secrets in Zhuangzi, and if you learn them and tell others, how can you do it without a death contract? The old man did not know what secrets Zhang Dashan had in Zhuangzi, but he could not bear to let his daughter sign a death contract. He hesitated. His daughter next to him did not care about the death contract. She felt that Zhang Dashan was not as flustered as others during the flood. Moreover, he was very casual when talking to the main house's guards, which made her feel very safe. His family was not bad. He could read and do accounting. He was honest and responsible, and the main house was so powerful. If she followed such a person, she would not have to be afraid of a hard life in the future. Her father was old and needed someone to take care of him. All these factors made the girl feel tempted. She squeezed her father's hand again, but when her father looked over, she turned her head away. The old man knew what his daughter was thinking. He looked at Zhang Dashan, who was eating the chicken head, and said, Dashan, I can agree to what you said. What do you think of my daughter? Me? I don't know. I have to go back and ask my mother. Why don't we go and ask my master? If he says yes, then yes. If he says no, then no. Zhang Dashan had not come into contact with women outside, so he was also very shy. He chewed the chicken head until it was crushed, but he still could not make up his mind. The old man really did not understand. Zhang Dashan looked simple and honest, but he was actually quite clever. Why did he have to ask the main house about this kind of thing? Why would the main house care about such small things? He asked, what if your master is wrong? Master will not be wrong. You don't know how powerful the main house is. The main house never does anything wrong. There is a boat in front with the main house's flag. Let's go and see. As Zhang Dashan spoke, he saw a flag with rice seedlings in front of them. It made him feel very familiar. With rice seedlings, there was no need to worry. The 6 of them paddled the water with their hands, slightly changing the direction of the log, and headed towards the boat. As soon as they got close, the people on the boat were preparing hot soup, which was actually hot porridge. When they saw Zhang Dashan, they said in surprise, Dashan, is that you? What are you doing here? Come here and drink some hot soup. The person guarding the boat was Susi, who was now also a member of the inner courtyard. The matters of the market had been handed over to Ergo, so he had other uses. When he saw Zhang Dashan, he was a little surprised. Susi, you're here. Let me see what soup you made. The soup you made is really hard to compliment. How is this soup? There's so much minced meat. It's almost like meat porridge. Add more chopped green onions. If you don't want any, then add some ginger. You've really tortured me these past 2 days. Zhang Dashan saw another relative. He took the soup and gave it to the other 5 people first. When it was his turn, he put in more ginger. Brother Dashan, my father and I also want some ginger, the woman said softly. At this time she had already decided to marry Zhang Dashan. Not to mention other things, the power of the Zhang family made her think so. In front of them, there were guards patrolling the water, and on the way, there was a boat of the Zhang family providing hot porridge. From Zhang Dashan's 2 interactions with people, she knew how capable the Zhang family was. She would have a good life with such a person. Zhang Dashan scratched his head and said to Susi, add some ginger for them too. If it doesn't work out, put it on my tab. Give them 1 egg too. These eggs are mine. Others don't have them. Since I met you, the Zhang family has to treat our own people differently from others. That's why I took them out. There are only 2 of them. You decide for yourself. Chapter 31. Some are happy, some are sad. When Susie added ginger to the other 5 people's bowls, he also put a tea egg in Zhang Dashan's bowl. He thought that the Zhang family's treatment must be better than others. He didn't expect that Zhang Dashan would take a fancy to the woman and ask for one too. Seeing that another herbal tea egg had been placed in the bowl, Zhang Dashan used a spoon to scoop it into the old man's and the woman's bowls. He didn't have any for himself, so he said to the old man, "Uncle, you eat it. This herbal tea egg can't be eaten by most people. The real herbal tea egg smells like Xinyang Maojian." After saying this to the old man, Zhang Dashan said to the woman, "You try it too. The food cooked by the Zhang family is definitely not bad. Brother Dashan, I'll share half with you." The woman bit off half of the egg in one bite, spat it into the bowl, and brought the other half back with a spoon. No, you eat it," Zhang Dashan said as he took the other half of the egg. Susie was such a smart person, so of course he didn't make a mistake. He smiled at Zhang Dashan and said, "Dashan, you have the ability, but you have to think carefully. You have to sign a death contract. Otherwise, not only the main family won't agree, but we also won't agree. You know how valuable the things produced by the Zhang family are." No, Brother Su, you're wrong. Not yet. We have to wait until we go back and ask the master. Zhang Dashan didn't dare to look Susie in the eye and lowered his head. The woman dared to love and hate. She said, "Brother Dashan, don't worry. I'm willing to sign a death contract. I can see that being a farmer in the Zhang family is better than being a rich person outside. At least when there's a flood, the rich people won't have the ability to send people to help. They also won't have hot soup and eggs on the way. The Zhang family's farmers can do it. What's there to be dissatisfied with? Brother Dashan, you can still come out. The Zhuangzi's management is not strict. Isn't it just that they don't tell outsiders what they see and hear? I can do it." Susie looked at the woman and was very surprised. She was really unusual. He nodded and said, "Well, at least I agree." Just like what the young master and the young lady said. It's better to be a dog in peace than to cause trouble. But even in troubled times, the Zhang family and the Wang family are still people. The Zhang family and the Wang family are different. "Here, sister, this is for you as a brother. Eat it quickly. You may not have it when you go to the next place. It's beef. You can't eat it normally." As he spoke, Susie handed over a beef bun. It was a palm-sized bun with a lot of beef, coriander, chopped green onions, chili sauce, and sesame oil. The woman took it graciously. She knew the value of beef. It wasn't something that could be bought with money. The Zhang family was really good. They were rich and generous to make such food for the people they sent. Holding the beef bun, the woman first said to Zhang Dashan, "Brother Dashan, you take a big bite. I'll give the rest to my father." Zhang Dashan shook his head. "You guys eat. If I want to eat, I just have to go there and tell the master personally. If the master has beef, he will give it to me. The master treats the farmers very well. Brother Dashan, take a bite. Otherwise we won't eat." The woman handed the bun forward again. Zhang Dashan had no choice. He took a small bite, chewed it in his mouth and tasted it. He asked, "Who made this? Is the meat not boiled? Why are you so nosy? Boiled? Is there so much wood? The young lady made it. What are you trying to say?" Susie glared at him and asked. "It's delicious. So it was the young lady who made it. It's good that it's not boiled. It has a special taste. It's fresh. No wonder I drooled so much. I won't be able to eat anything better in my life." Zhang Dashan immediately followed the conversation. Even if the food was hard to swallow, he wouldn't dare say no to the young lady's cooking, let alone the fact that it tasted good. The woman next to him let her father take a bite first. Then she took a small bite and tasted it. She said to Zhang Dashan, "Brother Dashan, I think it's delicious." "Well, it's delicious, but it's not boiled. The taste of this beef, it's really delicious." Zhang Dashan really didn't know what to say. Susie laughed and patted Zhang Dashan on the shoulder. He said, "This is made by the locals. How could the young lady make such beef? If it was really made by the young lady, you won't be able to eat anything else in the future. How could the young lady forget to boil it once? Not only does the young lady know how to boil it, but she also knows how to braise it once. Drink the soup and leave quickly. Leave the bowl for me. Zhang Dashan looked at Su Si gloomily. He had just tasted it and found the taste of laxative. That was why he said that the meat was not boiled. Now that he heard Su Si's words, he couldn't say that it was bad. He could only say to the woman, "This meat is really bad. When we get there, I'll cook it for you personally." The person who cooked it didn't put in any effort at all. Zhang Dashan's mouth was picky, but others weren't like him. The old man took a bite, the woman took a bite, and the other 3 people each took a bite. The woman slowly ate the rest by herself. Although it was just a single beef bun, it was very precious to the 5 of them. The soup was also good. After drinking a bowl, they were basically full. The 6 of them said goodbye to Su Si and continued to paddle to their destination. However, they were in a different state from before. Previously, the 5 of them were prepared to wait for death. Now they were full of hope for the future. At this time, a person who had been silent all this time spoke. Zhang Dashan, "Is your master really Luzhou's provincial governor? I really envy the people here. I think many of them will be saved. I wonder if your master will agree to people from other provinces coming to live here?" Yes, he will definitely agree. Master is not afraid of too many people. As long as you want to live here, master may even give you some land. You don't have to worry about the rent. In reply to master, there is nothing for the next meal, only this meal. They said that they would wait for the price to come out before they can continue to sell. It seems that the amount of money for each meal is different. The servant respectfully replied, "On purpose, they are doing it on purpose. Damn that Zhang Zhong. He must be afraid that we will leave, so he only sold us a few things. How about this, we can let the others eat less or starve for a few meals and save up. When we get to Qinzhou, we will be fine." Chapter 434. Provincial Governor, I would like to discuss something with you. Can you allow me and the other 3 families' raft teams to join this large group? The wind is too strong. It's easy for something to happen with the rafts together. Lu Shaoqing really had no other choice. They could save some food, but they couldn't guarantee their safety. Compared to their small piece of land, the big piece of land was like a small island in the big land. Nothing would happen to the big land in the storm, but the small island could be submerged at any time. After hesitating for a while, he found Zhang Zhong, who was still busy looking around, and wanted to cooperate with him. His attitude and the way he addressed Zhang Zhong had changed, as if Zhang Zhong was really a provincial governor in his heart. Zhang Zhong no longer had any expectations for this person, especially after knowing that the 4 of them were gloating in the heavy rain. He couldn't wait to push the 4 of them into the water and drown them. Seeing Lu Shaoqing come over to join them, he thought for a moment and nodded. "That's fine. I'll arrange for people to join your rafts together in a moment. You don't have to worry." "Thank you, Your Excellency. There's one more thing, and that is to eat. We came out in a hurry and didn't bring anything cooked. If we eat too much uncooked rice and noodles, it will hurt our stomachs. Why don't Your Excellency get someone to collect our food and then give us something cooked according to the same amount?" Lu Shaoqing asked. His idea wasn't bad, but Zhang Zhong wasn't a fool. He looked at him with a smile and said, "Why don't you send the rice, noodles, and other oil over, as well as some wood that can be used to burn the fire? Our people will do it for you. You just need to pay the processing fee. How about that?" "Ah, dry wood that can be used to burn the fire? Sir, we don't have that kind of thing. It's all wet and can't be lit at all. The fire here is strong. Even if it's wet, it can be dried out. Why don't we send you some wet ones and give you 10 strings of money as the processing fee? What do you think?" Lu Shaoqing sounded aggrieved, but in fact he was cursing Zhang Zhong in his heart. If there was fire, would he still need to look for you? Zhang Zhong simply didn't want to think about how the 4 of them would scold him. In any case, he didn't plan on letting them have a good time. After hearing Lu Shaoqing's words, he regretfully shook his head and said, "It's not that this official doesn't want to help. It's just that the smoke from burning the wet wood is too big. How about this, you bring the wet wood and all the food and money here. Every day when you have your meals, come here to collect a portion of it. I guarantee that you won't starve to death. The four of you are quite united, even eating together. Not bad. This is how the officials should do their jobs for the common people. This matter is settled. In a moment, this official will arrange for people to go to your place to collect the things. You must prepare everything well. Otherwise, even if this official agrees, so many people may not agree. Lu Shaoqing was a bit dizzy. The wood and food were sent over, but he still had to give money. Especially that sentence, if they didn't starve to death, wouldn't they be able to eat their fill? Thinking of this, Lu Shaoqing could only thicken his skin and continue to plead with Zhang Zhong. Sir, we don't need the money, so there's no need to take it out. Also, our families are used to eating their fill. If there's a time when they don't eat their fill, it won't be good if they cause trouble. Don't you think so, sir? Lu Shaoqing, are you threatening me? The four of you added up to less than 200 people. Don't worry, if one of you causes trouble, I'll kill one. If two, I'll kill a pair. Even if the four of you cause trouble, this official won't show any mercy. He wants us to hand over everything and someone will do it for us. But at the same time, he wants us to send all our money over. What do you think we should do? I tried my best to get Zhang Zhong to agree to connect our wooden rafts to that place. I can't do anything else. You see who's better. Let's talk about it. Don't think about causing trouble. Zhang Zhong already said that if anyone dares to cause trouble, they will be killed. Lu Shaoqing first talked about the food. Naturally, he didn't mention that he had accidentally offended Zhang Zhong. Instead, he brought up the matter of connecting the rafts. This made the three people think that he had done his best. The three people didn't think that Lu Shaoqing was lying. They thought that it was true. After all, Zhang Zhong had always been at odds with them. How could they miss this opportunity? Chao Herwei angrily slapped his thigh and cursed, "Damn Zhang Zhong. He better not fall into our hands. He actually wants us to send over all our money. His family suffered a loss this time. Do they want us to help them make up for their losses? Dream on. I've decided. Let the servants eat raw food. What's there to be afraid of? They won't go bad if they eat it. Don't tell me that people who live in the mountains can eat cooked food for every meal. Let's connect the rafts first. What do you think? Think so too. We can't send the money over. Our four families have a total of 10,000 strings of cash. Why should we give it to Zhang Zhong? Let's eat raw food. Don't we still have some fruits? The four of us and our families will eat some fruits. Let the servants eat raw food. We have to tell the servants that it was Zhang Zhong who harmed them. Jiang Huanche was also very angry. She shouted and didn't agree to give the money away no matter what. One of the other two said something wrong and didn't dare to say anything else. The other saw that the other two didn't agree and could only agree. The four of them advanced and retreated together. The matter of the grain was like that. The four of them ordered the servants to move the wooden rafts to the side of the larger area. Who would have thought that as soon as they reached the side, the guard standing there would shout at them, "Who allowed you to come here? Move quickly. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." At this time, Fan Jianqi stood up. He went to the front and said with a smile, "This is Lord Zhang. Governor Zhang asked us to move the rafts to this side. We waited for Governor Zhang's order to return them." "Lord Zhang asked you to move here. He didn't ask you to move here. Follow me. There's already a place. There's no one around. It's quiet." As the guard spoke, he walked to the side of the rafts. The big rafts here also moved. As they walked, they came to the side facing the outside. There was no one on the rafts here, only some stones. In addition to the stones on the rafts, there were also stones tied to the rafts with ropes. In this way, if the waves came from the other side, they would have to pass through here first. The waves were originally big, but after passing through here, they would become much weaker. This way, the people on the rafts wouldn't have to bump very much. However, this place wasn't what the four wanted. After seeing this place, Fan Jianqi couldn't help but ask, "Why here? Isn't this just making us wait to suffer? No, not here. Let's go to the place we just went." The guard sneered and said to Fan Jianqi, "You said no, so we can't? Like before, you float your rafts and we float ours. Or listen to the order and move the rafts here. Hurry up." What do you want to do? We don't have time to waste on you. I'm going to ask, sir. It's impossible. Lu Shaoqing didn't want to be moved by the waves at the outermost side. After saying this, he quickly ran away. After looking around, he finally found Zhang Zhong, who was talking to an old man. Zhang Zhong was already very sleepy. After saying a few words, he yawned twice and forced his eyes to stay open. The one who talked to Zhang Zhong quickly set his opinion on the weather so that Zhang Zhong could sleep early. Sir, you have to help us. Your guard really didn't listen to the order. He actually arranged our rafts to the place closest to the sea. Lu Shaoqing found Zhang Zhong to complain. Zhang Zhong yawned again and said to Lu Shaoqing, "No one disobeyed the order. It was this official who arranged it for you. Go over there and tie your rafts securely. Then you can change those rocks to your rafts. That way, you won't be at the outermost side." Chapter 33. Love sometimes is too sudden, ah? Is that so? Thank you very much, sir. This little one will do it right away. Lu Shaoqing understood this time. He lowered his head and walked back. As he walked, he cursed in a low voice, "Damn Zhang Zhong. He actually arranged for us to be at this place. If a storm really comes, won't those rocks flip over and smash our heads?" Thinking this, Lu Shaoqing also said this to the three people when he returned. The three people thought about it, but none of them agreed. After some discussion, the four people decided to move the rafts to the front of the large wooden array. If they were there, they wouldn't have to worry even if there was water rushing down from upstream. If a storm really came from behind, they would let Zhang Zhong and the commoners endure it first. The small rafts began to move forward again. Zhang Xiaobao stood beside the large wooden array and watched the rafts move. He smiled and didn't say anything. Wang Wan frowned and asked Xiaobao, "Are we just going to let them go like this? It's still raining." Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the sky and said. Wang Wan understood this time. She smiled and pulled Zhang Xiaobao over to rest. The two of them were a little tired. Even if they slept for an hour, they would recover a lot. Zhang Zhong was also tired at this time and couldn't stand. He had to find a stool to sit down and talk to others. As he talked, he fell asleep. No one next to him complained. They just felt that the adults were working too hard. When it was almost nighttime, Zhang Dashan and the others also came over. A thick piece of wood directly hit Lu Shaoqing's group of more than 30 wooden rafts. Immediately, 3 of the rafts fell apart. Lu Shaoqing stood up and scolded Zhang Dashan. Zhang Dashan didn't care about others at all. He said to Lu Shaoqing, "Shut up first. Tell me, where's my master? My master is the provincial governor here. I'm here to find him." Lu Shaoqing was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he laughed again and said to Zhang Dashan, "You're from the Zhang family? Okay, come with me. I'll take you to find the Lord. But you broke our raft. Shouldn't you pay for it first?" "What broke it?" Zhang Dashan asked. "Of course it's this piece of wood," Lu Shaoqing replied. "Then you go find the wood to pay for it. Don't look for us. We were also hit by a piece of wood. We were staying there fine, but the wood hit us and we came here. I'll let you clean up this piece of wood first. After you're done, I'll clean it up. I'll use it as firewood to chop it up," Zhang Dashan said to Lu Shaoqing with a look of hatred. He even kicked the wood a few times. Lu Shaoqing smacked his lips and nodded as if he had accepted his fate. He said, "Lord Zhang is over there. You find a way to get there. Lord Zhang won't let us get close to him." "Oh, that's good. Is there anyone from the Zhang family?" "I'm Zhang Dashan, a farmer from the Zhang family. Someone come and take us over." Zhang Dashan looked simple and honest, but he wasn't stupid at all. He knew that this person was trying to make things difficult for him, so he shouted in that direction. Soon a boat rowed over. Zhang Dashan and the other 5 boarded the boat and looked back at Lu Shaoqing. The expressions on their faces made Lu Shaoqing feel that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what was wrong. Master, we've finally found you." Zhang Dashan led the 5 people around and found Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong had just woken up. He looked at Zhang Dashan with sleepy eyes, shook his head vigorously, and asked curiously, "Are you Zhang Dashan?" Yes, master, it's me. I'm here to see you. I was going to Qingzhou to sell smoked chicken. I didn't expect a heavy rain, so I came over. Master, how are you? How are old master and old madam, and young master and young lady? Zhang Dashan said excitedly. The 5 people standing next to him immediately knelt down. This was a high-ranking official, a very high-ranking one. Get up, there's no need to kneel. There's water on the wood. Dashan, who came with you? This was what Zhang Zhong was most concerned about. Don't worry, master, I came alone. There's no one else. Master, these people are new to me. They came here together on a big log, and they even broke a few of the wooden rafts in front. Master, there's someone who wants to join Zhuangzi. It's this woman. Master, what do you think? Zhang Dashan knew what master was worried about. After he finished speaking, he pointed to the 5 people who came with him and emphasized that there was someone who wanted to join Zhuangzi. Zhang Zhong understood immediately. He looked the woman up and down. At first she was a little shy, but later she went all out. She stood up straight and let Zhang Zhong look at her. Zhang Zhong looked at her for a while and didn't see anything. He ordered someone next to him, go and call Xiao Bao and Cuckoo here. After the man left, Zhang Zhong said to Zhang Dashan, in a while Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will be here. If they say it's okay, then it's okay. Yes, master. Zhang Dashan was a little nervous. He stood next to the woman and said to her, don't be afraid. Master's family is good, especially the young master and young lady. They will definitely do it. How much betrothal gift is your family preparing this time? I need to prepare in advance. The woman was also nervous and nodded. When she heard Zhang Dashan mention the betrothal gift, she said a little shyly, we're all poor people. A few 100 coins, a few bolts of cloth, and some odds and ends will be enough. That won't do. How can you add so little things? Let me think about it. No matter what, I have to make your family look decent. Otherwise, the neighbors will look down on you. Zhang Dashan also had some feelings in this regard. In the past, he had seen Zhuangzi farmers marrying off their daughters. In the end, the betrothal gift was very little. The girl didn't pick anything, but the people around her felt that it was too shabby. Now, Zhuangzi's daughters were no longer marrying outside. The daughter who had been married off had begun to be bullied by her in-laws. Ever since Zhuangzi had risen, she was like an ancestor. When she returned to her mother's house, her in-laws would send people over to protect her carefully. She didn't have to be bullied anymore. The woman was the most hopeful in this regard. When she heard Zhang Zhong say this, she was even more satisfied. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over. After listening to Zhang Zhong, the 2 of them looked up at the woman. Seeing the woman's heroic spirit, the 2 of them looked at each other and nodded. Zhang Xiaobao said, Zhang Dashan, are you here to do business this time? Then do it. After the new year, when you go back next year, the family will prepare a betrothal gift for you. Since you're here, you can help out a little. The people in Zhuangzi can rest assured. Zhang Dashan was happy when he heard this. He smiled at the woman next to him and ran off to help out. When the woman saw that everyone was looking at her again, she blushed and ran off with Zhang Dashan. Xiao Bao, do you think this is love? Isn't it a little too fast? Wang Wan looked at Zhang Dashan and the woman's reactions and was very puzzled. This should be considered love, right? At least both of them are willing and it looks good. Love, as some people say, always comes too fast and too sudden. Don't think about them. Doing business together here first is also a test. Zhang Xiaobao also didn't understand. He also hadn't experienced love. He shook his head, turned around and walked away. The rain was a little scary. If it continued like this, there would be a bigger flood. Wang Wan followed next to him, still thinking about love. Later, she was confused and asked Zhang Xiaobao, Xiao Bao, how many people do you think the 10 ships can take this time? Are those people willing to stay in the state? I don't know. It depends on the situation of the 2 states. If the officials of the 2 states respond in time, not too many people will be washed away. Otherwise, there will be a lot of people. The 10 ships that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were talking about were the 10 ships that left out of the 18 ships. 7 ships went to the coast of Lianzhou, and the other 3 went to the coast of Sumaozhou. Sumaozhou's coastal area was smaller and didn't need so many ships. Chapter 435. The citizens of Lianzhou rejoiced as they sat in the cabin. Felt good to be alive. The people on the ship were also happy for them. They had personally rescued the people, so the rescuers were satisfied. An old man who had just been fished out of the water vomited half of his stomach. After he could speak again, he kowtowed to the people who had tied him up and fished him out. Then he asked, "Are you people from the state capital? You look like you are wearing the same clothes." "We are from the Luzhou mansion. We knew that there was going to be a flood, so we came here in advance to wait. We can't do anything inside, but we can save as many people as we can." The rescuer helped the old man up. Then, someone placed a bowl of steaming hot soup on the table in the cabin. In fact, it was the simplest egg soup. There were a few egg blossoms, a few pieces of vegetable leaves, some ginger foam and oil. That was all. However, even a soup like this was extremely precious at a time like this. Most importantly, it was hot. The old man blew on it and drank a mouthful. As he chewed on the ginger in his mouth, he asked the person who had rescued him, "How are things in your state? You sent ships to save us. Aren't you afraid of people dying?" "I don't know how it is now. When we came out there was no flood. However, there is no need to worry. There are 8 big ships like this. Our provincial governor has made preparations in advance. I don't think many people will die." "Old man, don't you know that it is going to flood?" The rescuers explained. Actually, they were also worried. However, the order was given, so they had to leave and wait here. The old man nodded and then shook his head. He said, "Your provincial governor is good. He can think ahead. This is not good. There is no one here. I know it is going to flood, and I know the Sea Dragon King is angry. However, what can an old man like me do? I can't run even if I want to. How far can I run in a few days? What's more, it was raining heavily outside. I could only make a wooden raft in advance and move some things onto it. When the flood came, I called a few people from my neighbor's house to get on the raft. In the end, a wave came and I was knocked down. I don't know what happened to the people on the raft. Usually, I fish in the sea, and the fishing boat is used by another neighbor. In fact, the boat in this era is not as good as the raft. If I had known earlier, I would have tied myself with a rope. At that time, I was afraid that the raft would overturn, so I just sat on it. You must look carefully here, there are still people alive." As the old man said, he wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and lowered his head to drink the soup. The one who saved people also felt very sad. At the same time, he felt very helpless. He knew that he was not good at swimming. If he could compete with the dozens of guards in the provincial governor's residence, he might be able to save more people. Seeing that the old man drank the soup, he stood up and said to the old man, "Old man, stay here first. I will continue to go out and see if there are people who don't have the strength to climb up. Old man, don't worry. As long as I can do it, I will do my best. Go. When the time comes, send people to this cabin. Even if they don't have any breath, send them to me. Maybe I can save them." The old man's face that was full of vicissitudes of life forced a smile. On Su Maozhou's side, it seemed to be the same situation. Many people were washed over and then saved. Although these 10 boats were not many, they saved many people's lives. When the heavy rain reached midnight, an even bigger mountain torrent rushed down. This time it wasn't just water, but also some mud and a large number of uprooted trees. They swirled in the water as they moved towards the defensive line formed by the wooden rafts. When Zhang Zhong, who was already prepared, saw that the water was getting bigger, he immediately asked the people in front to retreat to the middle of the position. He left the wooden rafts in front empty and waited for the trees to hit them. The big boat also moved to the 2 wings in front of the position. If the wooden rafts in front could not withstand the water, they would need to use the boat to block them. Lu Xiaoqing and the other 3 people still did not know what was going on. They were eating fruits and letting the servants eat raw rice and noodles. These things were hard to swallow, but the servants did not dare to say anything. If they did not eat, they would be hungry. They could only bear with it and eat little by little. When the first big tree hit this small area of wooden rafts, Lu Xiaoqing and the others finally understood why the 6 people had that kind of smile in the evening. It was not safe in front. Previously, 3 wooden rafts were damaged by the wooden rafts. Now, not long after they were repaired, 5 more were damaged. This small area of the position was also pushed back by the trees to the big position behind. After a while, Lu Shaoqing shouted to the servants, "Don't eat first. Quickly repair the rafts. Quickly." Fan Jianqi also shouted, "Quickly. Row to the back of the big wooden rafts. You can't row in front. Quickly." The servant paddled a few times and shook his head helplessly. He said to Fan Jianqi, "We can't paddle anymore. It's stuck. Our wooden raft is stuck in their wooden raft. Unless we can push it out first." "Then hurry up. What are you waiting for?" Jiang Huanshi shouted anxiously. "It's too late." As soon as the servant said these 4 words, the rafts shook again. 2 more trees hit the rafts. 3 people jumped down from one of the trees. The 3 people jumped onto the rafts. They looked around and thanked Jiang Huanshi and the others. Then they ran towards more wooden rafts where there were more lights. Seeing the 3 people running away, Chao Hui spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva and cursed, "They must have known about this, but they didn't tell us. All of you retreat to the back and leave the front open. Bring me some clean water. Do you have any medicine?" I bit my tongue. The 3 people jumped down from the trees and ran all the way to Zhang Zhong's side. Seeing that many people were here, they laughed happily. They hid in the shed and asked, "Who is the good official? We kowtow to the good official first. You are so awesome. You have a piece of land here." The 3 of us thought we would ride the trees and rush into the sea. "The good official doesn't have time to wait for you to kowtow. Drink the soup first. Otherwise it will be troublesome if you get sick." A local citizen came over and placed the wooden bowl in front of the 3 people. There was only one bowl, a big bowl. It could hold 5 small bowls. The 3 people were indeed hungry, tired, scared, and cold. They lowered their heads and drank a mouthful. When their stomachs were warm, one of them pointed at the road they came from and asked, "The good official can't be there, right? Just now, the 3 of us came from there. That's where the bad official is." They thought that if they ran in front, they wouldn't be overturned by the waves. In the end, they hit the trees. They have food and money, but they don't want to take them out. Let's see if they hit the trees again. If they do, the things won't belong to them. This commoner hated Lu Shaoqing and the others to the core. Even their family members and servants hated them. In the past, the family members and servants of these 4 families often went out to buy things without paying. They even hit people when they walked. Now that they saw them suffer, it was needless to say how happy they were. The 3 people were stunned. The one who had just spoken said regretfully, "If I had known, I wouldn't have thanked them." Anyway, they hit the trees. "Brothers, drink quickly. We can't just wait to be saved. The 3 of us still have strength. In a while, we will help the good official do some work." The 2 brothers nodded at the same time and drank without caring about the heat. The 3 people looked very optimistic. They were washed away by the flood, but they rode the trees and could run and jump. Once they had stabilized, Lu Shaoqing's side could not hold on any longer. The servants were repairing it as fast as they could, but there was a large number of people rushing down one after another, making it impossible for people to stay in the front. Occasionally, people would come down from the trees, some riding on them, some carrying them. Everyone who came up was very happy. Under the light, they looked at the land in front of them that was connected by wooden rafts and ran to the side where there were more people. Chao Hui sat on the wooden raft and saw that there seemed to be a black shadow in front of him rushing over. He was in no mood to avoid it. After a while, he said to the 3 people next to him, "Why don't we go over too? If this continues, we will lose our lives. Why would we want money? If they want it, we will give it to them." The other 3 people didn't have the mood to care about money. They had wanted to go for a long time, but they were afraid of losing face. Since someone suggested it, it was easy to talk about. Lu Shaoqing gritted his teeth and said, "Then let's go and discuss with Zhang Zhong. Give it to him, give it all to him. He is sucking blood." The 4 people all agreed. They brought their family members and servants, as well as the supplies and money, and went to the large array of wooden rafts. Hearing the continuous crashing behind them, they felt a lingering fear. When the 4 people found Zhang Zhong had just slept for an hour. His eyes were red and swollen, and his face was haggard. This was because he usually ate a good combination of food. Otherwise, he would have collapsed from exhaustion. Sir, we thought about it and decided to do as you said. Sir, the things are here. Please take them all. Lu Xiaoqing said to Zhang Zhong very unwillingly. Zhang Zhong glared at him and said, "Who let you come up? You have your own wooden rafts and you still want to squeeze in? Everyone is counted. Every person who comes up has to pay 50 strings of coins. Your things and money are just for you to use." 10 strings of coins per person? My family of more than 60 people is more than 3,000 strings of coins? Sir, we don't have money. Lu Xiaoqing didn't expect Zhang Zhong to be so ruthless. He said there, feeling wronged. If you don't have money, then write a promissory note. Owe it first and pay it back later. Do you want to write it? Zhang Zhong asked with a sullen face. Yes, sir. If you want to write it, then we'll write it. Qiao Huruwei said on the side as if he had accepted his fate. Owing money was better than being kicked out. Staying alive was more important. The other 3 people didn't want to resist. They followed Zhang Zhong to a shed. Someone had already prepared the ink, pen and paper waiting for them to write. The 4 people's hearts were bleeding. Their hands trembled as they wrote the promissory note. After writing it, Qiao Huruwei asked Zhang Zhong, "Sir, the things are here. Can we eat?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.